Tonight, as the last light of day fades into a soft, muted darkness, maybe you've got a lamp on, casting a warm glow over your pillow, or the windows open just a crack, letting in the quiet hum of the night. Let's take a moment to pause, not to think, not to plan, just to be here. Adjust your pillow if you need to. Let your shoulders drop heavy and loose, away from your ears. Let your hands rest somewhere they feel safe, maybe on your belly or by your sides. No tightness, no holding. You don't have to do anything right now. No goals, no fixes, no getting ready for tomorrow. This space is just for you, for the part of you that's tired of holding on to stress, to shoulds, to the weight of things that don't need to live in your mind tonight. I'm going to walk with you through 10 little Zen stories. They aren't big, loud lessons. They're more like whisper stories of monks by rivers, weavers with torn cloth, farmers who lost horses and found something softer instead. Each one is a tiny reminder of how to let go, not in a give-up way, but in a let your hands unclench way. These stories have been around for centuries, not because they're perfect, but because they speak to that quiet part of us that knows we're carrying too much. You might not remember every detail by morning, and that's okay. This isn't a test. It's just company. As we go, let the words wash over you like water over stones. If your mind wanders, and it will, minds do that, just gently bring it back to the sound of my voice, to the rhythm of your breath, in and out, slow, soft. Let's stay with that feeling of softness for a little while longer. Your breath slow, your body heavy against the bed. Now, let's drift into a story. It's a simple one, set by a river. Not a loud, rushing river thaw, kind that crashes over rocks, but a quiet one. The kind that moves like silk, where you can hear the water whisper against the banks, and the leaves of the willow trees dip down to touch the surface, leaving tiny ripples that fade as quickly as they come. This river runs through a small village, and on the edge of that village there's a temple. Not a grand golden temple with crowds of people, but a small one just. His name is Hui. You don't need to remember it, just know that Hui is like many of us. He wakes up early, tends to the garden, makes tea, and sometimes, when the day is quiet, he takes his small wooden boat out on the river. Not to go anywhere, really, just to sit, to watch the clouds drift by, to listen to the birds, to let his mind be as calm as the water. One morning, the sun is just starting to paint the sky soft pink and orange. The air is cool enough that Hui wraps a thin robe around his shoulders, and the river is so still, it looks like a sheet of glass. He pushes his boat into the water, the wood making a gentle splash that echoes softly, and climbs in. He picks up the oar, but he doesn't row hard, just a slow, easy stroke, then another. The boat glides forward, and Hui closes his eyes for a moment, breathing in the smell of damp earth and jasmine from the flowers that grow along the bank. It's peaceful. So peaceful that Hui almost dozes off, but then suddenly there's a thud. Not a loud thud, but enough to jolt him awake. His boat has bumped into something. He opens his eyes, and there, right next to him, is another boat. A small one, just like his, but it's empty. No one is in it. It must have come loose from its mooring upstream, carried by the slow current until it drifted into Hui's boat. At first, Hui feels a flicker of something. Irritation, maybe. A little that's annoying in his chest. He was so relaxed, so lost in the quiet, and now this empty boat ruining his peace. He starts to furrow his brow, starts to think, why didn't someone tie this boat properly? Now it's in my way. He reaches for the oar, ready to push the empty boat away, a little harder than he needs to, maybe. But then he pauses. He looks at the empty boat again. No one is in it. No one is there to apologize. No one is there to blame. It's just wood and rope carried by the river. It didn't mean to bump into him. It didn't have a choice. It was just doing what the water told it to do. And in that pause, just that one, small moments, something shifts in Hui. The irritation fades. The furrow in his brow smooths out. He exhales, and he realizes something. That feeling of annoyance. It wasn't because the boat bumped into him. It was because he was blaming the person who forgot to tie the boat. Blaming the boat itself. Blaming the river even, though none of those things were trying to hurt him. He was holding on to that blame, letting it turn a tiny, harmless bump into something that spoiled his peace. He smiles, then, a soft, quiet smile. He reaches out, not with frustration, but with gentleness, and pushes the empty boat away. Just a light touch. The boat drifts off, slowly, back into the current, and Hui watches it go until it's just a small dot on the water. Then he picks up his oar again, takes another slow stroke, and his boat glides forward. And this time, he's even more relaxed than before, because that empty boat taught him something. A few weeks later, Hui is out on the river again. It's a different day, cloudy, a little windy. The water isn't as calm. There are small waves that rock the boat slightly. He's sitting, sipping tea from a small clay cup, when he hears a voice. A loud voice, coming from upstream. Watch out, get out of the way. Hui looks up, and there's another boat, this one with a man in it. The man is rowing fast, too fast for the windy day, and he's looking over his shoulder, yelling at someone behind him. He's not looking where he's going. And before Hui can move, the man's boat crashes into his, harder this time. Hard enough that Hui's teacup slips from his hand and falls into the river, sinking to the bottom. Hard enough that the boat rocks, and Hui has to grab the edge to steady himself. The man in the other boat stops rowing. He looks at Hui, and his face turns red. He starts yelling, "What are you doing? Why are you in the middle of the river? You should have moved." Now, if this were the old Hui before the empty boat, he might have yelled back. He might have said, "You're the one not looking where you're going. You crashed into me. You broke my cup." He might have felt angry, defensive, like he needed to prove he was right. He might have let that anger fill his chest, turning a bad moment into something worse. But this is the new Hui, the Hui who saw the empty boat. He takes a breath, a slow one, in and out. He looks at the man, really looks at him. The man's hands are shaking. His hair is messy. His eyes are wide, like he's scared or in a hurry. Hui doesn't see an enemy. He sees someone who's upset, someone who's holding on to his own stress, his own fear, and taking it out on Hui does so Hui doesn't yell. He just shakes his head softly and says, "It's okay. The boat is fine. No one is hurt." The man stops yelling. He blinks like he's surprised. He looks at Hui, then at the water, then back at Hui. He opens his mouth, like he wants to say something else, maybe apologize, maybe keep yelling, but then he just sighs. A deep, tired sigh. "I'm sorry," he says, quiet now. "My son is sick. I was in a hurry to get to the doctor in the next village. I wasn't paying attention." Hui nods. He understands. The man wasn't being mean. He was scared. He was holding on to so much fear for his son, worry about being late that he couldn't see anything else. Just like Hui, that morning with the empty boat, had been holding on to irritation until he realized there was no one to blame. "It's all right," Hui says again. "Go. Your son needs you." The man nods, grateful, and rows away, slower this time, more careful. Hui watches him go, then looks down at the spot where his teacup fell. He feels a little sad. He liked that cup. It was a gift from a friend, with a small painting of a lotus flower on the side. But then he remembers the empty boat. He remembers that the sadness doesn't have to stick. He doesn't have to blame the man, or himself, or the wind. He can just feel the sadness, then let it go. He picks up his oar again. The wind is still blowing. The waves are still rocking the boat, but Hui is calm, calmer than he was before. Because he knows now, most of the time, when we get upset, when we feel angry or irritated or hurt, it's not because of what happened. It's because we're holding on to blame. Blaming someone else, blaming ourselves, blaming the world. But when we let go of that blame, when we see that sometimes things just happen, that people are doing the best they can with what they have, then the anger fades. The irritation melts away, and we're left with something softer, understanding, peace. That's the lesson of the empty boat. It's not about never feeling upset. It's about not letting that upset take over. It's about looking at the other boat, whether it's a person, a mistake, a problem, and asking, is there someone to blame here? Or is this just life, moving like the river, carrying things that sometimes bump into us? Think about it as you lie there. When was the last time you felt upset because something bumped into your day? Maybe a friend was late to meet you and you felt annoyed. Maybe a coworker made a mistake that affected your work and you felt angry. Maybe you forgot something important and you blamed yourself. In those moments, did you feel like Hui, at first like someone was in the other boat, trying to ruin your peace? But what if you looked again? What if the friend was late because their child was sick, like the man in the boat? What if the coworker made a mistake because they were tired, because they'd been up all night taking care of a parent? What if you forgot something because your mind was full of other worries about a loved one, about money, about the future? What if there was no one to blame? What if it was just life being life? Letting go of blame doesn't mean you're saying what happened was okay. It just means you're not letting it weigh you down. It means you're choosing peace over anger, understanding over frustration. It means you're letting your hands unclench, so you can hold something softer instead. Hui stays on the river for a little while longer that day. The wind dies down and the sun comes out from behind the clouds, casting warm light on the water. He doesn't have his teacup anymore, but he doesn't mind. He just sits, watching the birds fly from tree to tree, listening to the water whisper, and feels his mind grow quiet. Because he knows now the peace he's looking for isn't in the river, or in the quiet, or in having his favorite teacup. It's in letting go. Letting go of blame, letting go of the need to be right, letting go of the idea that things should be a certain way. And that's a lesson we can all carry with us. Even tonight, as you lie here, getting ready to sleep, maybe there's something you're holding on to, something someone said, something that didn't go right, something you're blaming yourself for. What if you let it be like the empty boat? What if you look at it, acknowledge it, then let it drift away? You don't have to force it. Just breathe, in and out. Let the thought come, then let it go. Like a leaf on the river, carried away by the current. It's not gone forever, maybe, but it's not weighing you down right now. Right now, you're here, in your bed, warm, safe, with nothing to blame and nothing to hold on to, except the quiet. Hui rows back to the bank as the sun starts to set, painting the sky again, this time in deep purples and oranges. He ties his boat to the dock, carefully, so it won't drift away. He walks back to the temple, his steps slow and light. He makes himself a new cup of tea, using a different cup, one with no painting, just plain clay, and sits in the garden, watching the plum tree sway in the breeze. He smiles because he knows the empty boat will always be with him, not as a memory, but as a reminder to let go, to be soft, to be at peace, and so can you. As you let your eyes get heavy, as your breath gets slower, let that reminder sink in. Let go of blame. Let go of the tightness. Let go of everything that doesn't need to be here right now. Because tonight, all you need is this: the quiet, your breath, and the peace that comes from letting go. Let that feeling of peace from whose river stay with you a little longer, your breath still slow, your body soft against the sheets. Now, let's drift from the riverbank to a small cottage tucked away at the edge of a forest. The cottage has a thatched roof, and smoke curls gently from its chimney, carrying the faint smell of cedar and honey. Inside, if you peek through the window, you'll see a woman sitting by a wooden loom. Her name is May. May is a weaver, not the kind who weaves quickly to make as much cloth as possible. She's the kind who weaves with care, the kind who spends weeks choosing the wool, soft white from the sheep that graze on the hills, deep blue from indigo flowers she dries in the sun, pale pink from the petals of wild roses she picks in the forest. She soaks the wool in warm water with lavender to make it smell sweet, then combs it until it's as smooth as a cloud. For May, weaving isn't just work, it's a prayer, a way to turn quiet moments into something beautiful. Her loom is old past, down from her grandmother, then her mother, and it creaks softly when she works, like it's whispering along with her. Every morning, May wakes up before the sun, lights a candle, and sits at the loom. She weaves slowly, her fingers moving deftly over the threads. She doesn't rush. She lets her mind quiet, focusing only on the click of the shuttle, the feel of the wool, the way the colors start to blend into something new. For the past 3 months, May has been working on a special cloth. It's for the village elder's daughter's wedding, a gift. She's put more care into this cloth than any other. She chose the softest white wool for the base, then wove, in threads of gold, the color of sunlight, she thought. She added tiny patterns, little flowers, like the ones that grow by the cottage door, and small birds, like the ones that sing in the forest trees. Every night, before she goes to bed, she stands back and looks at it. It's almost done, just a few more inches, and it's perfect. Or at least, that's what she thinks. Perfect. No mistakes, no loose threads, just beauty, woven into every strand. She's so proud of it, so proud that sometimes, when she looks at it, Her chest feels tight with joy, but also a little tight with something else, fear. Fear that she mess it up. Fear that something will happen to it. Fear that it won't be perfect enough. She's been holding on to that perfect cloth like it's a treasure she's afraid to drop. One afternoon, the sun is shining through the cottage window, casting warm light on the loom. May is sitting there, humming a soft song her mother used to sing when she reaches for the shuttle. It's the last part of the clothifino edge. She takes a deep breath, pulls the shuttle through the threads, and snapped it, a small sound, but it feels like a thunderclap in the quiet cottage. May freezes. She looks down. One of the main threads, one of the white ones, the base of the whole cloth, has broken. At first, she doesn't move. She just stares at the broken thread. Her hands start to shake. The cloth, which was so perfect a moment ago, now has a gap. A hole right in the middle of the flower pattern. She reaches out, gently, like she can fix it just by touching it. But when she tugs at the thread, another one snaps, then another. Suddenly, the perfect cloth starts to unravel. May's breath catches. She feels a lump in her throat. She's worked so hard. 3 months. 3 months of early mornings, of careful combing, of soft humming. 3 months of hoping, of dreaming of the elder's daughter wrapping herself in this cloth on her wedding day. And now it's unraveling, falling apart, ruined. She grabs the cloth, pulling it gently from the loom, as if she can stop the unraveling by holding it tighter, but the threads keep coming loose. She looks at her hands. They're shaking so much that she can barely hold the cloth. Tears start to well up in her eyes, hot, stinging tears. She sits down on the floor, the cloth in her lap, and cries. Not loud sobs, but quiet, broken ones, because it's not just the cloth. It's the fear of not being good enough, the fear of failing, the fear that all her work was for nothing. She sits there for a long time. The sun moves across the sky, and the cottage grows darker. The cloth is still in her lap, now half unraveled, a mess of threads and broken patterns. She doesn't touch it. She just sits, feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling like she's lost something important. Then there's a knock at the door. May wipes her eyes quickly. She doesn't want anyone to see her like this, upset, messy, like she's failed. Come in, she says, her voice quiet and shaky. The door creaks open, and an old woman steps in. It's Mrs. Lin, the village healer. She's known May since she was a little girl, and she often stops by with herbs or a loaf of bread. Mrs. Lin has kind eyes, crinkled at the corners, and hands that look worn but gentle. She sees May on the floor, sees the cloth in her lap, and she smiles softly. Not a happy smile, just a knowing one. May I sit? She asks. May nods, moving over a little. Mrs. Lin sits down next to her, and for a minute they don't say anything. They just sit, looking at the unraveled cloth. It was perfect, May says finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I worked so hard, and now it's gone. Mrs. Lin looks at her. Gone, she says. Is it gone, or is it just different? May blinks. Different. How can it be different? It's ruined. She shakes her head. It's ruined. I wanted it to be perfect for the wedding, and now it's just threads. Mrs. Lin reaches out and gently touches the cloth. She runs her fingers over the unraveled threads, the soft wool, the bits of gold and green that are still there. Tell me, she says, when you were weaving this cloth, what did you feel? May thinks for a minute. The early mornings, the sun coming up, the smell of lavender in the wool, the sound of the loom creaking, her mother's song. I felt, Tom, she says, happy, like I was making something that mattered. Did you feel that because the cloth was perfect? Mrs. Lynn asks. Or did you feel that because you were putting your heart into it? May pauses. She's never thought about that. She always thought the happiness would come when the cloth was done, when it was perfect. But now, when she thinks back, the happiness was in the weaving, in the quiet moments, in the care she put into each thread, not in the end result. Mrs. Lynn picks up a strand of the gold wool, twisting it between her fingers. I used to grow peonies, she says, big, pink ones. I loved them. I watered them every day, pulled the weeds, talked to them. I wanted them to be perfect, no spots, no wilting petals. One year, a storm came. It rained so hard and the wind blew. When I went outside the next morning, all my peonies were broken. Their petals were on the ground, their stems bent. I cried, just like you're crying now. I thought, all my work is gone. They're ruined. May looks at her. What happened? Mrs. Lynn smiles. I cleaned up the petals. I tied the bent stems to sticks to help them stand. And you know what? A few weeks later, they bloomed again. Not perfect. Some of the petals were still a little crumpled. Some of the stems were still bent, but they were beautiful. More beautiful, maybe, because they'd been through the storm. Because they weren't perfect. They were real. She looks down at the cloth in May's lap. This cloth isn't ruined, May. It's just not perfect. But perfect isn't always beautiful. Sometimes the beauty is in the mess, in the threads that came loose, in the mistakes. Because those mistakes tell a story. The story of you, of the 3 months you spent weaving, of the love you put into it. May looks at the cloth, really looks at it. The unraveled threads, the gap in the flower pattern. It's not perfect, but it's hers. She wove every thread. She put her heart into it. And maybe that's enough. Mrs. Lynn stands up, brushing off her skirt. I'll leave you with this, she says. Holding on to perfect is like holding on to a handful of water. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Let go of perfect. Let go of the fear of messing up. And see what's left. What's left is the love you put in. And that's never ruined. She walks to the door, then turns back. Oh, and May, the elder's daughter, doesn't need a perfect cloth. She needs a cloth that's filled with care. That's the only gift that matters. Then she leaves, closing the door softly behind her. May sits there for a while, thinking about what Mrs. Lynn said. She picks up the cloth again, running her fingers over the threads. She doesn't cry anymore. The tightness in her chest is gone, replaced by something softer. Acceptance. She stands up, carries the cloth back to the loom, and sits down. She doesn't try to fix the broken threads right away. Instead, she picks up a new strand of wool, this one a soft, pale blue, the color of the sky on a quiet morning. She threads it through the loom, then starts to weave, not to make it perfect, but to make it real. She weaves the blue wool into the unraveled part. She adds a new pattern, small raindrops, like the ones from Mrs. Lynn's storm. She weaves in a few loose threads, not trying to hide them, but letting them be part of the cloth. It's not the cloth she planned. It's not perfect, but it's beautiful. In a different way. A real way. A week later, the wedding day comes. May wraps the cloth in a piece of soft linen, ties it with a ribbon, and walks to the elder's house. Her hands are a little shaky. She's still nervous, but she's not afraid anymore. The elder's daughter opens the gift. She unfolds the cloth, and May holds her breath. The girl's eyes widen. "It's beautiful," she says. She runs her fingers over the blue raindrops, over the loose threads. "Did you make this?" May nods. "I did. It's not perfect. Some threads broke, and I had to fix it. But I put my heart into it." The girl smiles. "That's why it's beautiful. Because it's real. Because you cared." She wraps the cloth around her shoulders. It fits perfectly. Not because it's perfect, but because it's filled with love. May leaves the elder's house, walking back to her cottage. The sun is setting, painting the sky pink and orange, just like the morning Hui was on the river. She feels lighter than she has in months, because she let go. She let go of perfect. She let go of the fear of messing up. She let go of holding on too tight, and what she found was peace. Peace in the mess. Peace in the imperfection. Peace in the love she put into the work, not the end result. Think about that as you lie there. When was the last time you held on to perfect? Maybe a project at work you stayed up late, stressing because it had to be perfect. Maybe a meal for friends you worried if it tasted right, if it looked nice. Maybe even a conversation you replayed it in your head, wondering if you said the right thing, if you sounded perfect. But what if you let go of that? What if you stopped squeezing the water and let it flow? What if you focused on the love you put into the project, not the end result? The care you put into the meal, not how it tasted. The honesty you put into the conversation, not the words you chose. Perfect is heavy. It's a weight we carry, and it tires us out. Letting go of perfect, letting go of the need to be flawless, it lets us breathe. It lets us see the beauty in the mess, in the mistakes, in the real parts of life. May goes back to her cottage that night. She lights a candle, sits at her loom, and picks up a new strand of wool, soft yellow, like the sun. She starts to weave, not with fear, but with joy, because she knows now the beauty isn't in the perfect cloth. It's in the weaving. It's in the heart she puts into it. It's in letting go, and so can you. As you lie there, your eyes getting heavier, your breath slower, let go of perfect. Let go of the fear of messing up. Let go of the weight of trying to be flawless, because you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be you, and that's more than enough. The night is quiet. The cottage is warm. May weaves on, humming her mother's song, and outside, the moon rises soft, gentle, not perfect, but beautiful. So beautiful. Let the softness of May's woven cloth linger with Euthos threads of gold and blue. The quiet acceptance of imperfection is, we drift now to a hillside temple. It's not a grand temple, just a few weathered stone buildings nestled among pine trees. The air here smells of pine needles and incense, and if you listen closely, you can hear the distant tinkle of a wind chime hanging from the temple's entrance. Inside one of the small rooms, an old monk sits cross-legged on a straw mat, holding a wooden bowl. His name is Master Wu. His hair is white, tied back in a loose knot, and his face is lined with wrinkles, each one a map of years spent in quiet contemplation. He moves slowly, not because he's weak, but because he's learned to savor each moment, the way sunlight filters through the window. the sound of birds outside, the weight of the wooden bowl in his hands. That bowl is special to him. It's not made of fine porcelain or carved with intricate patterns. It's just a simple wooden bowl, smooth from years of use. He made it himself decades ago when he was a young monk. He gathered a piece of oak from the forest, carved it slowly with a small knife, sanded it until it felt like silk against his palms, and then rubbed it with linseed oil until it glowed a warm honey color. Over the years, he's used it every day for morning porridge, for afternoon tea, for the clear mountain water he fetches from the spring below the hill. It's not just a bowl to him, it's a companion. It holds the warmth of his meals, the quiet of his mornings, the memories of years gone by. When he holds it, he thinks of the day he carved it. The sun was bright, the forest was quiet, and he felt a sense of peace he'd never known before. He thinks of the winters he spent with it, cupping it in his hands to warm his fingers. He thinks of the summers when he'd fill it with cool water and sip it slowly, watching the clouds drift by. He's never wanted another bowl. This one is enough. This one is his dot. Every morning, Master Wu wakes at dawn. He lights a stick of incense, bows to the small altar in his room, then takes his wooden bowl to the temple kitchen. He fills it with warm porridge oats and dried berries, cooked slowly over a small fire, and carries it back to his mat. He sits, closes his eyes for a moment, and breathes in the smell of the porridge before taking his first bite. He eats slowly, savoring each spoonful, the bowl warm against his hands. Afterward, he washes it carefully in a basin of water from the spring, dries it with a soft cloth, and places it on a small shelf by his bedright, where he can see it when he wakes and when he goes to sleep. The monks who live with him sometimes tease him gently about the bowl. "Master Wu," they'll say, "why do you keep that old wooden bowl? We have new bowls, porcelain ones, shiny and smooth. You could have one of those." Master Wu always smiles and shakes his head. "This bowl is not just wood," he says. "It's filled with moments. I don't need a new bowl. This one has been with me through so much. It's part of me." And so he keeps it. He polishes it every week, running a soft cloth over its surface until it shines. He checks it for cracks, even though it's never had one. He holds it when he's feeling quiet, when he's remembering, when he's just being. He's attached to it not in a greedy way, but in a soft, familiar way, like a child clinging to a favorite blanket, or a traveler holding a map that leads home. One autumn morning, the wind is blowing hard. The pine trees sway, their branches creaking, and leaves swirl through the air like confetti. Master Wu wakes, lights his incense, and goes to the kitchen to get his porridge. The kitchen is busy. Other monks are chopping vegetables, stirring pots, talking softly. He fills his wooden bowl with porridge, careful not to spill, and turns to walk back to his room. As he steps through the kitchen door, a young monk hurries past, carrying a stack of plates. He doesn't see Master Wu. He bumps into him, hard dot. Master Wu stumbles. His hands fly up, but he can't hold on to the bowl. It slips from his fingers, spins through the air, and hits the stone floor with a loud, sharp crack. For a moment, everything is quiet. The young monk freezes, his face turning pale. The other monks stop what they're doing, looking over. Master Wu stands there, staring at the bowl on the floor. It's broken, split down the middle, the two pieces lying apart, porridge spilling out onto the stone. The warm, honey-colored wood is now marred by a jagged crack. It's not just a crack, it's a break. A permanent one. The young monk drops the plates, they clatter to the floor, unbroken, and falls to his knees. "I'm so sorry, Master Wu," he says, his voice shaking. "I wasn't looking. I was in a hurry. I'll get you a new Bellini bowl you want. Please forgive me." Master Wu doesn't move. He just looks at the broken bowl. The monks wait, expecting him to be sad, to be angry, to scold the young monk. After all, that bowl was his most prized possession. They've seen him polish it, hold it, talk about it. They've never seen him without it. But Master Wu doesn't do any of those things. He takes a slow breath, bends down, and picks up the 2 pieces of the bowl. He brushes off the porridge with his sleeve, then holds the pieces in his hands, one in each palm. He looks at them for a long time, his fingers tracing the jagged edge of the crack. The young monk is still on his knees, his head bowed. Master Wu cuts him off, his voice soft, calm. "It's all right, little one. Stand up." The young monk looks up, surprised. "But your bowl, it's broken. I ruined it." Master Wu smiles, a gentle, quiet smile. He holds up the 2 pieces of the bowl. "It was a good bowl," he says. "It served me well. For many years, it held my food, my water, my memories. But it was just a bowl. Wood and oil, nothing more." He walks over to a small table by the door, places the 2 pieces of the bowl on it, then turns back to the young monk. "You didn't ruin anything. Things break. That's the way of the world. The sun rises, the sun sets. Rain falls, flowers bloom. Bowls break. It's not a tragedy. It's just life." The young monk stands up, still looking confused. "But you loved that bowl. I've seen you with it. You polished it every week. You talked about the day you made it." "I did love it," Master Wu says. "But love isn't holding on so tight that you can't let go. Love is being grateful for the time you had with something, for the moments it gave you. I'm grateful for this bowl. It gave me many happy mornings, many quiet afternoons. But now it's broken, and that's okay, because the moments aren't broken. The memories aren't broken. They're still with me, even if the bowl isn't." He walks over to the young monk and puts a hand on his shoulder. "Don't feel guilty. Guilt is just another way of holding on to a mistake, holding on to regret. Let it go. I have." The young monk nods, slowly, and a look of relief washes over his face. "Thank you, Master Wu." Master Wu smiles. "Now, let's clean up the porridge. And then, let's find me a new bowl. Not a porcelain one, a wooden one, simple, just like the old one." Over the next few days, the monks watch Master Wu. They expect him to be sad, to talk about the old bowl, to look for it on the shelf by his bed. But he doesn't. He goes about his days as usual, waking at dawn, lighting incense, fetching water from the spring. He uses a new wooden bowl one a young monk carved for him, simple and smooth, just like he asked. He holds it with the same care he held the old one, but there's no sadness in his eyes, no longing, just acceptance. One afternoon, a visiting monk comes to the temple. He's heard about Master Wu's broken bowl, and he asks about it. "Master," he says, "I heard your favorite bowl broke. Are you not sad?" Master Wu is sitting in the temple garden, holding the new bowl, which is filled with mountain tea. He takes a sip, then looks at the visiting monk. "Why would I be sad?" he says. "The bowl was a thing. Things come, things go. Things break. That's their nature. Just like our bodies, they grow old, they weaken, they eventually return to the earth. But our minds, our hearts, our memories, those don't break. Those stay with us, even when things are gone." He sets the new bowl down on the stone bench next to him. "When I had the old bowl, I was grateful for it. Now that it's broken, I'm still grateful for the time we had together. And now I'm grateful for this new bowl. It will hold my tea, my porridge, my new moments." That's the way of letting go. Not forgetting, but not clinging. Not mourning what's gone, but celebrating what wasn't, what is. The visiting monk nods, thoughtful. "But what if you had lost something more important? Not a bowl, but a person, a friend, a family member. Would you still let go so easily?" Master Wu's face softens. "Ah, that's different. People are not bowls. They are not things. We love them, we grieve for them when they're gone. Grief is natural. It's part of love. But even then, we must let go of the love, not of the memories, but of the pain. The pain of wanting them back, the pain of wishing things were different. We hold on to that pain, and it weighs us down. But if we let it go, we can keep the love, keep the memories, and still move forward. Still find joy in the new moments." He picks up the new bowl again, running his finger over its smooth surface. "The bowl taught me that. It taught me that attachment to things is like holding a stone in your hand. The longer you hold it, the heavier it gets. The tighter you grip it, the more it hurts. But if you let it go, your hand is free. Free to hold something new, free to feel the wind, free to be light." That evening, Master Wu takes the two pieces of the old bowl to the forest. He digs a small hole under a pine tree, places the pieces in it, and covers them with dirt. He doesn't say a prayer, doesn't shed a tear. He just stands there for a moment, looking at the spot where the bowl is buried, then turns and walks back to the temple the next morning. When he wakes, he looks at the shelf by his bed. The old bowl isn't there, but the new bowl is shiny and smooth, waiting for him. He smiles, picks it up, and carries it to the kitchen. He fills it with porridge, sits on his mat, and takes his first bite. It tastes just as good as it did in the old bowl. The warmth, the quiet is the same. The moment is the same, because the joy wasn't in the bowl. It was in the moment, in the act of eating, of breathing, of being present. The bowl was just a vessel, a way to hold that moment. But the moment itself, that's something no one can break, no one can take away. Think about that as you lie there. What stones are you holding in your hands? What things are you clinging to? Old clothes, a broken phone, a gift from someone who's gonna that weigh you down. Things that were once special, but now just take up space in your closet, in your drawer, in your mind. You might think, but this thing is important to me. It reminds me of a time, a person, a feeling. And that's true. Those memories are precious. But the thing itself, it's just a thing. Wood or cloth or plastic. It can break, it can fade, it can get lost. But the memory's there in you. They don't need the thing to stay alive. Letting go of the thing isn't letting go of the memory. It's freeing yourself from the weight of holding on. It's making space for new moments, new things, new joys. It's like Master Wu said, the bowl was a good companion, but when it broke, he didn't let it break his peace. He let it go and found a new companion, a new bowl, a new way to hold his moments. Maybe tonight you can think of one thing you're holding on to, something that's not broken, but just heavy. A shirt you haven't worn in years, but keep because it was your favorite. A book you've read 100 times, but keep because it reminds you of your childhood. A trinket on your shelf that you never look at, but keep because someone gave it to you. What would it feel like to let it go? Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. To say, thank you for the moments. Thank you for the memories. But I don't need to hold you anymore. To feel your hands open, your shoulders drop, your heart lighten. Master Wu knows this. He knows that the peace we seek isn't in the things we own. It's in the way we hold those things loosely, gently, with gratitude, not attachment. Because things come and go. But peace if we let it stays. That night, Master Wu sits on his mat, holding the new bowl. He fills it with clear mountain water, holds it up to the moon, and watches as the moonlight reflects off the smooth wood. He takes a slow sip and smiles. The water tastes sweet. The moon is bright. The night is quiet. And for a moment, there's nothing but this, the bowl, the water, the moon, and the quiet peace of letting go. You can have that too. As you lie there, your eyes heavy, your breath slow, let go of the weight of things. Let go of the need to hold on. Let your hands open, your heart soften, and feel the quiet peace of just being. The night is long. The moon is bright. And you are enough. Just as you are. No things needed. No attachments required. Just peace. Sweet peace. Let the quiet peace of Master Wu's moonlit bowl stay with you, that soft acceptance of things as they are. As we drift now from the hillside temple to a small farm at the foot of the mountains. The farm has a thatched roof house, a few wooden fences, and a field where wheat sways gently in the breeze. Smoke curls from the chimney, carrying the smell of roasted chestnuts. And if you listen, you can hear the low neigh of a horse from the stable. This farm belongs to a man named Li. He's a quiet farmer, not one to talk much, but one who works hard. From dawn till dusk, he tends to his wheat, mends his fences, and cares for his horse. Not just any horse, a chestnut mare with a white star on her forehead. Her name is Cloud because she runs as fast as the wind, her hooves kicking up dust like clouds in the sky. Li loves Cloud more than anything. She's not just a workhorse, she's his companion. Every morning, he brushes her coat until it shines, feeds her sweet hay, and talks to her softly, telling her about the day ahead. When he plows the fields, she walks steadily beside him, never rushing, never complaining. When the work is done, he lets her run free in the meadow behind the farm, watching her gallop, her mane flowing in the wind, and smiles. The villagers often say to Li, "You're so lucky to have Cloud. She's the best horse in the valley. She works hard, she's gentle, and she's fast. You're a fortunate man." Li would always nod, but he never said much. He knew Cloud was special, but he didn't like to call it luck. He just felt grateful, grateful to have her, grateful for her help, grateful for the quiet moments they shared. Then, one evening, something happened. Li had put Cloud in the stable, as usual, after letting her run in the meadow. He'd given her a bucket of fresh water, patted her on the neck, and said, "Good night, old friend. See you tomorrow." He'd closed the stable door, latched it tightly, and gone inside to eat his dinner. The next morning, Lee woke up early, as he always did. He stretched, yawned, and walked outside to greet Cloud. But when he reached the stable, his heart dropped. The stable door was wide open. The latch was broken, lying on the ground, and the stall where Cloud slept was empty. Lee's hands started to shake. He ran into the stable, calling her name, Cloud, Cloud. But there was no answer, just the smell of hay and the quiet of the morning. He ran outside, looking around, at the meadow, at the wheat field, at the road leading to the village. No sign of her. He called her name again and again, his voice getting louder, more desperate. But there was no sound of hooves, no sight of her chestnut coat. She was gone. Lee walked back to the stable, his shoulders slumping. He picked up the broken latch, stared at it, and felt a lump in his throat. Where had she gone? Had someone stolen her? Had she run away? Had something happened to her in the woods? He didn't know. All he knew was that his best friend was gone. The villagers heard what had happened, and they came to comfort him. "Lee, we're so sorry," they said. "What terrible luck. You lost the best horse in the valley. This is a disaster." Lee sat on the steps of his house, staring at the stable door. He felt sad, so sad that his eyes burned. But he didn't say anything. He just shook his head. The villagers talked for a while, offering to help look for Cloud, but Lee thanked them and said, "I'll look myself. Thank you for coming." For 3 days, Lee searched for Cloud. He walked through the woods, called her name in the meadows, asked every traveler he saw if they'd seen a chestnut mare with a white star. But no one had. Each night he came home tired, his feet sore, his heart heavy. He'd sit on the steps of his house, looking at the empty stable, and wonder if he'd ever see her again. On the 4th day, Lee woke up early again. He didn't feel like searching anymore. He felt tired, hopeless. He walked outside, still in his nightclothes, and looked at the stable. And then he stopped. He rubbed his eyes, thinking he was dreaming. There, in the meadow behind the farm, was Cloud, and she wasn't alone. She was standing next to a black stallion, a beautiful horse with a shiny coat and strong legs. They were eating grass together, their heads nuzzling gently. Lee couldn't believe his eyes. He ran toward her, calling her name. Cloud looked up, saw him, and nickered happily. She trotted over to him, and he threw his arms around her neck, hugging her tightly. He could feel her warm breath on his cheek, her soft coat under his hands. She was home. The villagers heard the news, and they came running. They saw Cloud and the black stallion, and they cheered. "Lee, you're so lucky," they said. Cloud came back, and she brought a stallion with her. "Now you have 2 horses, 2 beautiful horses. This is wonderful. Your luck has turned around." Lee smiled, petting Cloud's neck. He looked at the black stallion, who stood quietly beside her, and felt grateful. But again, he didn't say much. He just nodded and said, "Yes, she's home. That's good." The villagers talked for a while, admiring the stallion, before leaving. Lee spent the rest of the day with Cloud and the stallion, brushing them, feeding them, talking to them. He named the stallion Wind, because he ran just as fast as Cloud. And for a few weeks, everything was good. Lee had 2 horses now. They helped him plow the fields faster, and in the evenings, he'd let them run free in the meadow, watching them gallop side by side, and feel happy. Then, one afternoon, something else happened. Li's son, a young boy named Xiao, wanted to ride Wind. He'd never ridden a horse before, but he'd watched his father ride Cloud, and he wanted to try. "Father, let me ride Wind," Xiao said, his eyes bright. "He's so big and strong. I want to feel like I'm flying." Li hesitated. Wind was a beautiful horse, but he was still new. Li didn't know if he was used to carrying people. "Xiao, maybe not yet," he said. "Wind is still getting used to our farm. Maybe when he's calmer." But Xiao begged, "Please, father, just once. I'll be careful. I won't go fast." Li looked at his son, his bright eyes, his eager smile, and sighed. He loved Xiao more than anything. He didn't want to disappoint him. "All right," he said, "but I'll hold the reins. You just sit on his back, and we'll go slow," Xiao cheered. Li helped him climb onto Wind's back, then took the reins in his hand. He walked slowly, leading Wind around the meadow. Xiao laughed, holding on to Wind's mane. His face lit up with joy. "Father, this is amazing," he said. "I feel like I'm on top of the world." Li smiled. He was glad Xiao was happy. But then, suddenly, a rabbit ran out of the bushes. Wind startled. He reared up on his hind legs, snorting, and Xiao lost his balance. He fell off Wind's back, landing hard on the ground. Li dropped the reins and ran to his son. "Xiao, Xiao, are you all right?" he said, kneeling down beside him. Xiao was crying. He held his leg, which was bent at an odd angle. "Father, it hurts," he said, his voice shaking. "It hurts so much." Li picked him up gently, carrying him to the house. He sent a villager to fetch the doctor, who lived in the next valley. When the doctor arrived, he examined Xiao's leg and shook his head. "It's broken," he said. "He'll need to stay in bed for several weeks. He won't be able to walk, let alone work, for a long time." Li sat by Xiao's bed, holding his hand. Xiao was still crying, and Li felt his heart break. He blamed himself. He should have never let Xiao ride Wind. He should have been more careful. He should have said no. The villagers came to visit, bringing soup and bread. They looked at Xiao's broken leg, and they shook their heads. "Li, what terrible luck," they said. "First you lose Cloud, then she comes back with a stallion, and now Xiao breaks his leg. This is a disaster. That stallion is nothing but trouble. You should have never kept him." Li didn't say anything. He just sat by Xiao's bed, staring at his son's face. He felt sad, sad for Xiao, sad that he'd let this happen. But again, he didn't call it bad luck. He just felt heavy. For weeks, Li took care of Xiao. He fed him, helped him drink, read him stories by the fire. Xiao was sad at first. He hated being stuck in bed, hated missing out on playing with the other village children. But as time went on, something changed. He started to enjoy the quiet. He'd listen to the birds outside his window, watch the clouds drift by, and talk to his father about all the things they'd do when his leg healed. Li also started to notice something. Because Xiao was in bed, Li spent more time with him than ever before. They'd talk for hours about Xiao's dreams, about Li's childhood on the farm, about the horses. Li realized he'd never really taken the time to just sit and talk with his son. He was always too busy working, plowing the fields, mending fences, caring for the horses. Now, because Xiao was hurt, they had time to connect, time to be together. Then, one morning, a soldier came to the village. He was wearing a uniform with a sword at his hip, and he walked through the village square, calling out to the villagers. "Men of the valley," he said, "the emperor is calling for soldiers. All young men between the ages of 16 and 25 must join the army. We leave tomorrow at dawn. Anyone who refuses will be punished." The villagers panicked. Their sons, their brothers, their husbands, all of them would have to go to war. War was dangerous. Many men never came back. The villagers cried, hugged their loved ones, and talked in hushed tones about how terrible this was. Li thought about Xiao. Xiao was 18, just the age the soldier was talking about. If his leg wasn't broken, he would have to go. He would have to leave the farm, leave his family, and go to war. Li felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't bear the thought of losing his son, but Zhao's leg was broken. He couldn't walk, let alone fight. The soldier came to Li's farm, looked at Xiao's broken leg, and shook his head. "He can't join us," he said. "He's not fit for service." Next, and just like that, Xiao was safe. The villagers came to Li's house again, their faces a mix of relief and sadness. "Li," they said, "you're so lucky. Zhao's broken leg saved him from going to war. If he hadn't fallen off wind, he would be leaving tomorrow. This is a blessing." Li looked at Xiao, who was sitting up in bed, smiling. He thought about everything that had happened, losing Cloud, finding her with Wind, Xiao breaking his leg, and now Xiao being safe from the war. He thought about the villagers' words, terrible luck, wonderful luck, disaster, blessing. He realized something. There is no good luck or bad luck. There's just life, a series of moments, some happy, some sad, some confusing. We call things good when they make us happy, bad, but things change. A bad thing can turn into something good, and a good thing can turn into something hard. We can't control it. We can only let it be. Li turned to the villagers and said, "I don't know about luck. I just know that Cloud came home, and that's good. Xiao broke his leg, and that's hard. But now Xiao is safe, and that's good. Life is like the river. It flows, it turns, it changes. We can't hold on to the good parts and push away the bad parts. We just have to let it flow." The villagers looked at him, confused at first. But then, slowly, they nodded. They thought about Li's words, about the river, about letting things flow. And they started to understand. Weeks later, Xiao's leg healed. He could walk again, and he was so happy to be outside that he ran around the farm, laughing. He helped Li with the horses, and he even rode Cloud, slowly, carefully, with his father's help. Wind, too, had calmed down. He was gentle now, used to the farm, and he and Cloud were still the best of friends. One evening, Li sat on the steps of his house, watching Zhao play with the horses in the meadow. The sun was setting, painting the sky pink and orange, and the wind was blowing softly, carrying the smell of wheat. Li felt a sense of peace, a quiet, steady peace. He thought about everything that had happened, and he didn't feel sad or happy. He just felt grateful. Grateful for Cloud, for Wind, for Zhao, for the farm, for the moments, all of them, the happy ones and the hard ones, because he'd learned to let go of judgments. He'd learned that good and bad are just words we use to make sense of things. But life doesn't need our labels. It just is. And when we let go of trying to call things good or bad, we can see the beauty in all of it, the beauty in the loss, the beauty in the gain, the beauty in the broken leg that saved a life. Think about that as you lie there. When was the last time you called something bad? Maybe you missed a bus and you thought, this is terrible. My day is ruined. Maybe you got a bad grade and you thought, I'm a failure. This is the worst thing ever. Maybe you had a fight with a friend and you thought, our friendship is over. This is a disaster. But what if that missed bus made you meet someone new, someone who became a good friend? What if that bad grade made you study harder and you ended up learning more than you ever would have? What if that fight with your friend made you talk about things you'd never talked about before, and your friendship became stronger? We don't know what the future holds. We don't know how a bad moment will turn into something good, or how a good moment might bring a challenge. We just know that life changes. It flows like the river. And when we let go of judging it, when we stop calling things good or bad, we can stop fighting it. We can stop feeling angry or sad or scared. We can just be here in the moment and feel peace. Lee sat on the steps for a long time, watching the sun go down. Shao called him over to play with the horses, and Lee stood up, smiling. He walked toward his son, toward the horses, toward the quiet joy of the evening. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Maybe Cloud would run away again. Maybe Shao would get hurt. Maybe the soldier would come back. But he didn't worry. He just felt grateful for now, for this moment, for the life he had, because he'd learned the most important lesson of all. Letting go of judgments isn't about being happy all the time. It's about being peaceful no matter what. It's about seeing that every moment, even the hard ones, is a part of life. And every part of life is a gift. You can learn that too. As you lie there, your eyes heavy, your breath slow, think about a moment you called bad recently. What if it wasn't bad? What if it was just a moment, a part of your story, a part of your journey? What if it was leading you to something good, even if you can't see it yet? Let go of the judgment. Let go of calling it bad. Let go of fighting it. Just let it be. Because life is too short to spend it labeling moments as good or bad. Life is meant to be lived fully, peacefully, with an open heart. The night is quiet now. The farm is still. Li, Shao, Cloud, and Wind are all home, safe and warm. And somewhere the river flows steady, calm, unjudging, just like life, just like you. When you let go, sweet, peaceful sleep. Let the quiet wisdom of Farmer Lee's unjudging heart stay with you, that soft understanding that life flows like a river. No labels needed, as we drift now from the mountain farm to a small studio in a bustling town. The studio is on the second floor of a wooden building, with large windows that let in streams of sunlight. If you look inside, you'll see shelves lined with jars of ink, stacks of rice paper, and brushes of all sizes. In the center of the room, a man stands at a table, his brow furrowed, a brush frozen in his hand. His name is Wei. Wei is a painter, not a famous one, not yet. But he wants to be. More than anything, he wants to paint works that make people stop and breathe. Works that are talked about in tea houses. Works that will be remembered long after he's gone. He spent years studying the great painters of the past. Masters who painted mountains that looked like they touched the sky. Rivers that seemed to flow off the paper. Birds that looked ready to fly away. He has their scrolls hanging on his studio walls. A landscape by Master Zhang, a bamboo painting by Master Liu, a portrait of a crane by Master Chen. Every morning, he stands in front of them, studying every stroke, every drop of ink, every curve of the brush. He wants to paint just like them, perfectly. Wei's days start before the sun rises. He lights a candle, grinds ink on a stone until it's smooth and black, and lays out a sheet of rice paper. He takes a deep breath, picks up his brush, and tries to copy the masters. But it never feels right. He paints a mountain, but it looks flat, not like Master Zhang's mountains, which had depth, like you could step into them. He paints bamboo, but the leaves are stiff, not like Master Liu's bamboo, which swayed like it was in a soft wind. He paints a crane, but its wings look heavy, not like Master Chen's crane, which looked light enough to float on air. Every time he finishes a painting, he crumples it up and throws it in a basket. The basket is always full, so full that he has to empty it every few days. The crumpled paper piling up in a corner like a small mountain. He sighs, runs his hands through his hair, and tries again, and again, and again. But the more he tries, the worse it gets. The more he forces the brush to move like the masters, the stiffer his strokes become. The more he tries to make his paintings perfect, the more they feel empty. One afternoon, the sun is shining brightly through the studio windows, but Wei doesn't notice. He's standing at his table, painting a landscape, mountains, a river, a small cottage. He's been working on it for hours, his hand aching, his neck stiff. He dips his brush in ink, tries to paint a cloud, and it comes out lopsided. He growls, slamming the brush down on the table. The ink splatters on the paper, ruining what little progress he'd made. "I can't do this," he says, his voice tight with frustration. He kicks the basket of crumpled paper, and some of it spills onto the floor. He sits down on a stool, putting his head in his hands. "Why can't I paint like them? What's wrong with me?" He sits there for a long time, feeling defeated. The studio is quiet, except for the sound of his own breathing and the distant chatter of the town below. He thinks about giving up, about putting away his brushes, closing his studio, and doing something else, something easier. But then he looks up at Master Zhang's landscape, at the way the mountains rise and fall, and he feels a flicker of hope. He can't give up, not yet. The next morning, Wei decides to take a walk. He's tired of staring at his studio walls, tired of copying the masters, tired of forcing himself to be something he's not. He puts on his coat, leaves the studio, and walks out of the town toward the countryside. The air is fresh, with the smell of jasmine and wet earth. Birds sing in the trees, and a small stream gurgles beside the path. He walks for hours, letting his mind quiet, letting the sound of nature wash over him. As the sun starts to set, Wei comes to a small valley. There, in the middle of the valley, is a pond. The pond is surrounded by willow trees, their branches dipping into the water. Lily pads float on the surface, and a few white lotus flowers are in bloom. The sky above is painted pink and orange, and its reflection shimmers in the pond. It's the most beautiful thing Wei has ever seen. He sits down on the bank of the pond, staring at the water. He doesn't think about painting. He doesn't think about the masters. He just sits, breathing in the beauty of the moment. He watches a dragonfly land on a lily pad, its wings iridescent in the sunset. He listens to a frog croak, a soft, deep sound that echoes across the pond. He feels the cool breeze on his face, carrying the scent of the lotus flowers. For the first time in a long time, he feels calm, peaceful, not like he's trying to hold on to something, but like he's just letting be. As the sky grows darker, Wei stands up. He wants to remember this moment, not just in his mind, but in his hands. He realizes he doesn't have his brush or his paper with him, but he doesn't care. He bends down, dips his finger in the pond, and starts to draw on the smooth surface of a nearby stone. He draws the willow trees, their branches flowing like hair. He draws the lotus flowers, their petals soft and curved. He draws the dragonfly, its wings spread wide. He doesn't think about the masters. He doesn't think about perfect. He just draws quickly, freely, from his heart. When he's done, he steps back and looks at the stone. It's not like the master's paintings. The lines are not straight. The shapes are not precise. But it feels like the valley. It feels like the pond. It feels like him. He smiles, a real smile, not the tight, forced one he'd been wearing in his studio. He feels light, like a weight he'd been carrying for years has been lifted. The next morning, Wei returns to his studio. He doesn't go straight to his table. He walks over to the wall where the master's scrolls hang and takes them down. He rolls them up carefully and puts them on a shelf. Then he opens the windows wide, letting in the sunlight and the fresh air. He grinds his ink slowly, not in a hurry, savoring the sound of the stone against the ink stick. He lays out a sheet of rice paper, picks up his brush, and takes a deep breath. This time, he doesn't think about painting a mountain like Master Zhang. He thinks about the mountain he saw on his walk yesterday, its rough rocks, its green trees, the way the sun hit its peak. He doesn't think about painting bamboo like Master Liu. He thinks about the bamboo he passed on the path, its thin stems, its delicate leaves, the way it swayed in the wind. He dips his brush in ink and starts to paint. His hand moves freely, not stiff like before. His strokes are not perfect. Some are thick, some are thin, some are a little wobbly, but they are alive. He paints the mountain, and it looks like the one he saw, with depth and texture. He paints the bamboo, and it looks like it's swaying, even on the paper. He paints a bird, not like Master Chen's crane, but a small sparrow he saw outside his window that morning, its feathers ruffled, its beak open like it's singing. When he's done, he stands back and looks at the painting. It's not perfect. It's not like the master's, but it's his. It's a piece of his heart, a piece of the moments he'd cherished, the valley, the pond, the walk in the countryside. He doesn't crumple it up. He hangs it on the wall, right where the master's scrolls used to be. Over the next few weeks, Wei paints more. He paints the town square at dawn, when the vendors are setting up their stalls. He paints the old woman who sells tea on the corner, her hands wrinkled, her smile warm. He paints the stream he walked beside, its water clear and sparkling. Each painting is different. Each painting is imperfect. Each painting is him. One day, a wealthy merchant from the city comes to the town. He's looking for a painter to create a scroll for his home, something that will bring beauty and peace. He walks through the town, visiting the studios of the local painters, but none of their work speaks to him. Then he hears about Wei, the painter who used to copy the masters, but now paints from his heart. He goes to Wei's studio. When the merchant walks in, he sees Wei's paintings hanging on the walls. He stops in front of the one of the mountain and the bamboo. He stands there for a long time, staring at it. "This," he says, his voice soft, "this feels like home. I can almost feel the wind in the bamboo. I can almost see the sun on the mountain." Wei smiles. "I painted it from a mountain I saw on a walk," he says. "It's not perfect, but it's real." The merchant turns to him. "Perfect is boring," he says. "Real is beautiful. I want this scroll, and I want more. I want you to paint the landscapes of this town, the people, the streams. I'll pay you well. I want everyone to see your work." Wei can't believe it. The thing he'd been forcing for years, recognition, a chance to be known, was now coming to him, not because he copied the masters, but because he stopped forcing. Because he let go of the need to be perfect. Because he painted from his heart. Word of Wei's work spreads. People come from all over the region to see his paintings. They talk about them in tea houses. They hang them in their homes. They gift them to friends. Wei becomes a famous painter, not because he painted like the masters, but because he painted like Wei. But he never forgets the lesson he learned in the valley. He still paints every day, but he doesn't force it. If he's feeling stuck, he takes a walk. He goes to the pond, sits on the bank, and lets the beauty of the moment fill him. He paints what he sees, what he feels, what is real. He never hangs the master's scrolls back up. Instead, he hangs his own paintings, the imperfect ones, the ones that tell a story, the ones that are him. One evening Wei is sitting in his studio, looking at the painting of the mountain and bamboo. The sun is setting, casting a warm glow over the paper. He thinks about how far he's come, from the frustrated painter who crumpled up every work, to the man who paints with joy, with freedom, with ease. He realizes that forcing is like trying to hold a bird in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it struggles to get away. The more you try to control it, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you open your hand, if you let it be, it might just stay. It might even sing for you. Think about that as you lie there. When was the last time you forced something? Maybe you forced yourself to work late, even though you were tired, because you thought you had to be productive. Maybe you forced yourself to go to a party, even though you wanted to stay home, because you thought you had to be social. Maybe you forced yourself to smile, even though you were sad, because you thought you had to be strong. How did that feel? Heavy, exhausting. Like you were wearing a mask that didn't fit. Wei learned that letting go of forcing doesn't mean giving up. It means letting things flow. It means doing what feels right, not what you think you should do. It means being yourself, not the version of yourself you think others want you to be. You might think, but if I stop forcing, nothing will get done. If I stop trying to be perfect, I'll fail. But Wei's story shows the opposite. When he stopped forcing, he found success. When he stopped trying to be perfect, he found his true talent. When he let go of control, he found freedom. Tonight, as you lie in bed, think about one thing you're forcing right now. Maybe it's a project at work. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a feeling you're trying to push away. What would it feel like to let go? Not to give up, but to let it flow. To stop squeezing so tight. To let it be. Maybe you'll find that the thing you're forcing is not even what you want. Maybe you'll find that when you let go, something better comes along. Maybe you'll find that you're already enough, just as you are. No forcing needed. Wei sits in his studio for a while longer, watching the sun set. He picks up his brush, dips it in ink, and starts to paint a small lotus flower on a piece of scrap paper. He doesn't think about it. He just lets his hand move. When he's done, he smiles. It's not perfect. The petals are a little uneven. The stem is a little wobbly, but it's beautiful. Because it's real. Because it's his dot. And that's the greatest lesson of all. Letting go of forcing is about finding your true self. It's about painting your own life, not copying someone else's. It's about being imperfect, being real, being you. The night is quiet now. The studio is warm. Wei puts down his brush, blows out the candle, and walks home. He feels light. He feels free. He feels at peace. Because he stopped forcing. Because he let go. You can let go, too. As you close your eyes, as your breath slows, let go of the forcing. Let go of the need to be perfect. Let go of the control. Just be. Just breathe. Just let the night wrap around you like a soft blanket. Sweet, free, peaceful sleep. Let the freedom of Wei's unforced brushstrokes stay with you. That lightness of letting go of control, of painting life as it is, not as you think it should be, as we drift now from the sunlit studio to a quiet forest path. The path winds through tall pine trees, their needles rustling softly in the breeze. Sunlight filters through the branches, casting dappled patterns on the mossy ground. If you listen, you can hear the distant call of a woodpecker and the soft crunch of leaves underfoot. Along this path, a man named Chen walks slowly. His face is pale, his brow furrowed with pain, and his right arm is held tightly against his chest. Every step he takes is a small, shaky one, as if even moving costs him great effort. Just an hour earlier, Chen had been walking through the forest, gathering wild mushrooms for his evening meal, when he'd heard a sudden twang. Before he could react, an arrow had struck his arm, not a hunting arrow, but a small one, likely shot by a boy practicing with a bow nearby. The arrow's tip had lodged deep in his flesh, and the pain had shot through him like fire. At first, Chen had panicked. He'd grabbed his arm, yelling out in agony, and looked around wildly for help. But the forest was quiet. No one else was there. So he'd started walking, slowly, toward the small temple he knew was at the end of the path. The temple was home to a monk named Master Jian, a wise old man who was said to know how to heal both body and mind. Chen hoped Master Jian could help him. But as he walked, his mind had started to race. Who shot the arrow? Was it a boy from the village? Why didn't they come help? What if the arrow is poisoned? What if my arm gets infected? What if I can't work anymore? What if the pain never goes away? Each thought was like a small stone, weighing him down. The more he thought, the more scared he became. The more scared he became, the worse the pain felt. By the time he reached the temple gates, his hands were shaking, his breath was rapid, and he could barely speak. The temple was small, with a wooden gate that creaked when Chen pushed it open. Inside, there was a small courtyard with a stone fountain and a few wooden buildings. Master Jian was sitting on a bench in the courtyard, peeling an orange, his movements slow and deliberate. When he saw Chen, he stood up, his eyes soft with concern. "Come," Master Jian said, his voice calm. "Sit. You look unwell." Chen stumbled over to the bench, sitting down heavily. He held out his injured arm, his hand trembling. "Master," he said, his voice tight with pain and fear, "an arrow, it's stuck in my arm. Please, please help me. I don't know what to do. What if it's poisoned? What if my arm is ruined? Who shot it? Why would they do this?" Master Jian knelt down beside Chen, looking at the arrow in his arm. He didn't touch it yet. Instead, he looked up at Chen's face, at his wide eyes, his furrowed brow, his tight jaw. "Tell me," Master Jian said, "when you first saw the arrow in your arm, what did you do?" Chen blinked, confused. I panicked. I yelled. I looked for help. Then I walked here." "But Master, that's not important." "The arrow, wait," Master Jian said, holding up a hand. "Let's take this slowly. When you have a thorn in your foot, what do you do?" Chen frowned. Of course. "And when you pull it out, do you spend time wondering who put the thorn there? Why it was in your path? What kind of bush it came from? Or do you focus on pulling it out so the pain stops?" Chen paused. He'd never thought about it before. "I focus on pulling it out. The other things don't matter." "Not then." Master Jian nodded. "So why, then, are you spending time wondering who shot the arrow? Why they did it? Whether it's poisoned? When the arrow is still in your arm, causing you pain?" Chen stared at Master Jian. He'd never looked at it that way. He'd been so busy, overthinking, so busy worrying about the past, who shot the arrow, and the future, what if it's poisoned, that he'd forgotten about the present. The arrow was still in his arm. The pain was real. And the only thing that mattered right now was getting it out. I don't know," Chen said, his voice quiet. I got scared. I started thinking, and I couldn't stop." Master Jian smiled, a gentle, understanding smile. "Fear makes our minds race. It makes us look backward at what happened, and forward at what might happen. But the past is gone. The future hasn't come. The only thing that exists is now. And right now, you have an arrow in your arm. That's the only problem we need to solve." He stood up. "Wait here. I'll get my tools. I'll pull the arrow out, clean the wound, and wrap it. Then the pain will ease. Then we can talk, if you want. But first, let's focus on now." Master Jian walked into one of the temple buildings, leaving Chen alone in the courtyard. Chen sat there, looking at his injured arm. He thought about what Master Jian had said about the past being gone, the future not here, only now existing. He realized how much time he'd wasted, how much more pain he'd felt, because he'd been stuck in his thoughts. The arrow was the problem, not who shot it, not what might happen, just the arrow. A few minutes later, Master Jian returned with a small wooden box. He sat down beside Chen, opening the box to reveal a set of small, clean tools, a pair of tweezers, a cloth, a small jar of herbal ointment. He poured some warm water from a flask onto the cloth, then gently wiped the area around the arrow, cleaning away dirt and blood. "This will hurt a little," Master Jian said, his voice calm, "but only for a moment. Breathe with me, in and out, slow." Chen closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He focused on the feel of Master Jian's hand on his arm, warm, steady, gentle. He focused on his breath, in, out, not on the pain, not on his fears. When he felt the tweezers touch the arrow, he tensed, but Master Jian whispered, "Breathe." Stay here, stay in now. With a quick, gentle movement, Master Jian pulled the arrow out. Chen winced, a sharp pain shooting through his arm, but then it was gone. The worst of the pain faded, replaced by a dull ache. Master Jian cleaned the wound with more warm water, then applied the herbal ointment, cool, soothing, and wrapped it in a clean cloth. There, Master Jian said, sitting back, it's done. The wound is clean. The ointment will help it heal. Keep the bandage dry and change it every day. In a few weeks, it will be as good as new. Chen looked at his arm, now wrapped in white cloth. The pain was still there, but it was manageable. And his mind, it was quiet. No more racing thoughts, no more fears, just a sense of calm. Thank you, Chen said, his voice soft. Thank you for not just healing my arm, but for healing my mind, too. I was so stuck in my thoughts. I forgot to focus on what was right in front of me. Master Jian nodded, peeling another orange and offering Chen a slice. Overthinking is like carrying a heavy bag on your back. Every thought is a stone, adding to the weight. The more you think, the heavier the bag becomes. Soon, you can't walk. You can't breathe. You can't see the path in front of you. He took a bite of orange, savoring it slowly. Life is like this arrow. It comes, it hurts, it's a problem. But if you spend your time wondering why it came, or what will happen next, you'll miss the chance to fix it. You'll miss the chance to feel better. The only way to lighten the load is to let go of the thoughts. Let go of the why and the what if, and focus on the now. What can I do right now to feel better? What can I do right now to solve this problem? Chen thought about his life. He was a farmer, and he often worried about the future. What if the crops fail? What if there's a drought? What if I can't feed my family? He worried about the past. What if I had planted more wheat last year? What if I had fixed the roof sooner? All those thoughts weighed on him, making him tired, making him anxious. But what if he focused on now? What can I do today to tend to the crops? What can I do today to fix the roof? Those were small, manageable things. Things he could control. I never thought about it that way, Chen said. I always thought I needed to plan for the future, to fix the past. But maybe I was just making myself more tired. Master Jian smiled. Planning for the future is not a bad thing. Learning from the past is not a bad thing. But when you get stuck in overthinking, when you let the past and future take over, that's when it becomes a problem. It's like standing in a river, trying to hold on to the water that's already passed, and the water that's not here yet. You'll only tire yourself out. The river will keep flowing, whether you hold on or not. The only thing you can do is stand in the present, feel the water at your feet, and move with it. They sat in silence for a while, eating oranges, listening to the birds in the trees. The sun was higher now, warming the courtyard. Chen felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. His arm still ached, but it was a gentle ache, a reminder that he was alive. His mind was quiet, no more racing thoughts, no more fears, just now. Just this moment, when Chen stood up to leave, he felt lighter, not just in his arm, but in his whole body. He bowed to Master Jian, his gratitude deep. I will remember your words, Master. I will focus on now. I will let go of the overthinking. Master Jian nodded. And when the thoughts come back, and they will, just breathe. Remember the arrow. Remember that the only problem you need to solve is the one in front of you. The rest will take care of itself. Chen walked back through the forest, his steps steady now, his mind calm. When he thought about the arrow, about who might have shot it, he took a deep breath and let the thought go. When he worried about the wound getting infected, he took a deep breath and reminded himself, I changed the bandage today. I kept it dry. That's all I can do now. Over the weeks that followed, Chun's arm healed. And as it healed, his mind healed too. He stopped spending hours worrying about the past and future. Instead, he focused on the present, on planting his crops, on mending his fences, on spending time with his family. He found that when he let go of overthinking, he had more energy, more joy, more peace. One evening, Chen was sitting on his porch, watching the sun set over his fields. His arm was almost fully healed, just a small scar left, a reminder of the arrow. He thought about Master Jian and about the lesson he'd learned. Overthinking doesn't solve anything. It only makes things worse. The only way to find peace is to let go of the thoughts that weigh you down and focus on the present moment. The only way to move forward is to stay here. Now, don't think about that as you lie there. When was the last time you were stuck in overthinking? Maybe you lay in bed at night, replaying a conversation in your head, what you should have said, what they might have meant. Maybe you worried about a meeting at work. What if you mess up? What if your boss is angry? Maybe you thought about a mistake you made in the past. Why did I do that? What if I could go back and change it? Each thought is a stone. Each thought adds weight. And the more you hold on to them, the more tired you become. The more anxious you feel, the more you miss the peace of the present moment. Master Jian's lesson is simple. Let go of the let go of the why and the what if. Focus on now. What can you do right now to feel better? What can you do right now to calm your mind? Maybe it's taking a deep breath. Maybe it's listening to the sound of your own breathing. Maybe it's feeling the weight of your body against the bed, warm and safe. You don't have to solve all your problems tonight. You don't have to fix the past or plan the future. All you have to do is be here, now. In this moment, Chen sits on his porch for a while longer, watching the stars come out. He takes a deep breath, feeling the cool evening air on his face. He smiles. The past is gone. The future hasn't come. But right now, he is safe. He is healthy. He is at peace. And that's enough. You can have that peace too. As you lie there, your eyes heavy, your breath slow, let go of the overthinking. Let go of the thoughts that race through your mind. Let go of the stones in your bag. Focus on now. Focus on your breath. Focus on the feel of the bed beneath you. The night is quiet. The world is still. And you are here now. Safe, peaceful, sweet.com. Present sleep. Let the calm of Chun's present moment peace linger with you, that soft release of overthinking, that lightness of focusing only on what's right now, as we drift from the forest path to a small garden on the edge of a village. The garden is surrounded by a low wooden fence, and inside, rows of vegetables grow neat and tall, carrots with green tops peeking out of the soil, tomatoes ripening to a deep red, lettuce leaves crisp and green. But in the corner of the garden, there's a patch of roses. Not the neat, pruned roses you'd find in a noble's courtyard, wild roses. with tangled branches, thorns that catch on your sleeves, and petals that range from pale pink to deep magenta. The gardener of this plot is a woman named Sue. She's a small woman with calloused hands, hands that have spent years digging, planting, pruning, and a face that lights up when she talks about her garden. Sue takes pride in her work. Every morning, she wakes at dawn, puts on her straw hat, and walks to the garden with a basket of tools, a trowel, a pair of shears, a small rake. She tends to her vegetables first, weeding the rows until not a single stray plant remains, watering each one just enough, tying the tomato vines to stakes so they grow straight and tall. Her vegetables are perfect. No wilting leaves, no misshapen carrots, no unripe tomatoes. The villagers often stop by to admire them, saying, "Zoo, your garden is the most beautiful in the village. Your vegetables are like works of art." Sue smiles when she hears this. She likes being known as the best gardener. She likes the order of her garden, the way everything has its place, the way she can control how things grow. But there's one part of the garden that bothers her, the wild roses. They'd grown there on their own. Years ago, before Zoo started tending the plot, she'd thought about digging them up at first, but she'd heard that roses attract bees, and bees help the vegetables grow. So she'd let them stay. But she'd never liked them. They were messy. Their branches grew in all directions, not straight up like the tomato vines. Their thorns were sharp, pricking her fingers when she walked too close. Their petals fell to the ground, making a mess that she had to rake up. And they never bloomed at the same time. Some flowers would be in full bloom, while others were just buds. And some would be wilting while new ones started to grow. It was chaotic, uncontrolled, nothing like the rest of her garden. Every weekend, Zio would take her shears to the roses. She'd cut the branches that grew too far to the side, trying to make them grow straight. She'd trim the thorns, even though they grew back within a week. She'd pluck the wilting flowers, thinking that if she removed them, the new buds would bloom faster and more evenly. She'd water them too, even though they grew just fine with the rain. She was determined to fix them, to make them neat, to make them perfect, to make them fit into her orderly garden. But no matter how hard she tried, the roses wouldn't stay fixed. A branch she'd cut would grow back even wilder. A thorn she'd trimmed would sprout to more. A flower she'd plucked would leave a bare spot that never bloomed quite right. The more she tried to control them, the more chaotic they seemed, and the more frustrated she became. One Saturday morning, Zoo walks to the garden with her shears in hand, determined to fix the roses once and for all. She's had a long week. The village market was busy, and she'd sold almost all her vegetables. But a customer had complained that her carrots were too small, even though they were the same size as always. She's in a bad mood, and the sight of the wild roses, tangled, messy, unruly, makes her even angrier. She marches over to the rose patch, grabs a thick branch that's growing over the fence, and starts to cut it. The shears are sharp, but the branch is thick, and it takes all her strength to snip through it. When it finally breaks, she throws it on the ground, huffing. She moves to another branch, then another, cutting and trimming and plucking, her hands moving fast, her jaw tight, but then she slips. Her foot catches on a root, and she stumbles forward, falling into the rose patch. Thorns prick her arms and her legs. She sits up, brushing dirt off her clothes, and looks down at her hands. They're scraped, and a small trickle of blood is running down her wrist from a thorn prick. Sue sighs. She's tired. Tired of fighting the roses. Tired of trying to make them something they're not. Tired of feeling like she's failing because they won't stay neat. She sits there for a minute, leaning against the wooden fence, staring at the rose patch. The branches she'd cut lie on the ground, their leaves wilting already. The remaining branches look bare, like they're sad. She feels a twinge of guilt. Maybe she's been too hard on them. Maybe they don't need to be fixed. Just then, a small girl walks by the garden. She's about 5 years old, with pigtails and a red dress, and she's holding her mother's hand. When she sees the rose patch, she gasps. "Look, Mama," she says, pointing. "Pretty flowers." Her mother smiles. "Yes, they're wild roses. Very beautiful." The little girl tugs her mother's hand, pulling her closer to the fence. She leans in, careful of the thorns, and sniffs one of the pink roses. "They smell like candy," she says, giggling. She points to a bud. "And that one's going to bloom soon, right? It's all tight, like a present." Sue watches the girl. She'd never looked at the roses that way. She'd never noticed how sweet they smelled. She was too busy worrying about the thorns. She'd never thought of the buds as presents. She was too busy trying to make them bloom at the same time. She'd never seen the way the sunlight hit the petals, making them glow like they were covered in tiny stars. All she'd seen was mess, chaos, imperfection. The little girl turns to Zoo, her eyes wide. "Do you grow these flowers?" she asks. Xiu nods, her voice soft. "Yes, I do. They're my favorite," the girl says. "My grandma has roses, but they're all straight and the same. These are better. They look like they're having fun." "Having fun," Sue says, smiling. The girl nods. "They grow this way and that way, and some are pink, and some are purple, and some are big, and some are small. It's like a party." She waves at the roses, then takes her mother's hand. "Bye, Miss Gardner. Thank you for the pretty flowers." The girl and her mother walk away, and Zoo sits there, watching them go. She looks back at the roses, really looks at them. The girl was right. They did look like they were having fun. Their branches twisted and turned like they were dancing. Their petals were different colors, like a rainbow. Their buds were tight and promising, like presents waiting to be opened. They were messy, yes. Chaotic, yes. But they were also beautiful, in their own way. Sue picks up her shears, but instead of cutting more branches, she puts them in her basket. She stands up, brushing off her dress, and walks around the rose patch, looking at each flower, each branch, each thorn. She touches a petal gently. It's soft, like silk. She smells a rose. It's sweet, like honey. She looks at a thorn. It's sharp, but it's there to protect the flower. It's not a flaw. It's part of the rose. That afternoon, Ziyu doesn't trim the roses. She doesn't pluck the wilting flowers. She doesn't water them more than they need. She just sits on the fence and watches them. She watches a bee land on a magenta rose, its legs covered in pollen. She watches a butterfly flutter from flower to flower, its wings blue and orange. She watches the wind blow through the branches, making the roses sway like they're singing. And for the first time, she feels peace when she looks at them. Not frustration, not the need to fix, just appreciation. Over the next few weeks, Zhu changes the way she tends to the roses. She stops cutting the branches that grow over the fence. Instead, she lets them hang down, creating a curtain of pink and magenta. She stops trimming the thorns. Instead, she wears gloves when she walks near them, so she doesn't get pricked. She stops plucking the wilting flowers. Instead, she lets them fall to the ground naturally, where they become food for the soil. She waters them only when it hasn't rained in a while, letting them grow the way they want to grow. And something amazing happens. The roses start to bloom more. Not just more flowers, but bigger, brighter ones. The branches grow thicker, stronger, and the thorns, while still sharp, seem less threatening, more like a gentle reminder to be careful. Bees and butterflies come to the garden more often, and the vegetables start to grow even better, thanks to all the pollinators. The rose patch becomes the most popular part of Zoo's garden. Villagers stop by not just to buy vegetables, but to look at the roses, to smell them, to pick a small bouquet with Zoo's permission. Of course, one day, the little girl from before comes back, this time with her grandma. The grandma looks at the roses, her eyes wide. "These are beautiful," she says. "I've never seen wild roses grow so well. How do you do it?" Zoo smiles. "I stopped trying to fix them," she says. "I let them be. I let them grow the way they want to grow." The grandma nods, thoughtful. "That's wisdom," she says. "So many of us spend our lives trying to fix things, trying to make them neat, make them perfect, make them fit our plans. But sometimes the most beautiful things are the ones that are allowed to be themselves." Sue thinks about this. She thinks about her vegetables, how she controls them, how she makes them grow straight and neat. But they're vegetables. They need that care. The roses, they don't. They need space. They need freedom. They need to be wild. She thinks about her own life. She'd always tried to be perfect, to be the best gardener, to have the neatest house, to never make a mistake. But that perfection had made her tired. It had made her miss the beauty in the mess, the beauty in the things that don't fit into a plan. That evening, Sue sits on the fence, watching the sun set over the garden. The roses are bathed in golden light, their petals glowing. A breeze blows, and the branches sway, and the sweet smell of roses fills the air. She feels a sense of peace she'd never felt before. Not the peace of a neat garden, but the peace of letting go. The peace of embracing what is, not what should be. Think about that as you lie there. When was the last time you tried to fix something or someone that didn't need fixing? Maybe you tried to change a habit of a friend because you thought it was bad. Maybe you tried to rearrange your house over and over because it never felt neat enough. Maybe you tried to change yourself, to be quieter, to be more outgoing, to be better because you thought you weren't good enough as you are. How did that feel? Exhausting, frustrating, like you were fighting against something that didn't want to be fought. Sue learned that letting go of the need to fix isn't about being lazy. It's about being wise. It's about knowing when to care for something and when to let it be. It's about seeing the beauty in the wild, in the messy, in the imperfect. It's about accepting that some things and some people are meant to be themselves. And that's more than enough, you might think. But if I don't fix it, it will get worse. If I don't change, I'll never grow. But Zio's roses show the opposite. When she stopped fixing them, they grew stronger. They bloomed more. They became more beautiful. When you stop trying to fix what doesn't need fixing, You give it space to grow. You give it the freedom to be itself. And often, that's when it becomes its best self. Tonight, as you lie in bed, think about one thing you're trying to fix that doesn't need fixing. Maybe it's a messy desk, or a habit that makes you happy, even if it's unproductive, or a part of yourself that you've been trying to change. What would it feel like to let it be, to stop fighting it, to embrace it, messy and imperfect and all? You might find that it's not as bad as you thought. You might find that it's actually beautiful. You might find that letting it be gives you space to breathe. Space to be yourself. XIU sits on the fence for a while longer, watching the stars come out. The roses are quiet now, but their sweet smell still lingers. She smiles. She doesn't need a perfect garden. She just needs a garden that's alive. A garden that's allowed to be itself. And that's exactly what she has. You can have that too. As you close your eyes, as your breath slows, let go of the need to fix. Let go of the need to be perfect. Let go of the fight against what is. Embrace the messy. Embrace the wild. Embrace yourself just as you are. The night is quiet. The world is still. And you are enough. Just as you are. Sweet, wild, peaceful sleep. Let the sweet peace of Zoo's wild roses stay with you. That gentle acceptance of things as they are. That freedom in letting go of the need to fix as we drift from the village garden to a winding mountain path. The path climbs steadily upward, lined with pine trees and wildflowers that peek out from between the rocks. The air here is thin and cool, carrying the smell of pine and fresh mountain air. If you listen, you can hear the distant rush of a waterfall and the faint chirp of mountain birds. Along this path, a traveler walks slowly. His name is Kai. He's a young man with a beard that's starting to grow in and clothes that are worn at the cuffs and hem. But the first thing you notice about him is his backpack. It's large, much larger than a usual traveler's bag, and it hangs heavily on his shoulders, pulling them down so that he walks with a slight hunch. Every step he takes is slow and deliberate, as if the backpack is weighing him down more than he can bear. Kai has been traveling for months. He left his village to see the world, to visit distant cities, to climb tall mountains, to see the ocean he'd only heard stories about. But along the way, he'd started collecting things, not just the usual traveler's supplies, a water skin, a blanket, a few pieces of dried fruit, but something heavier. Memories, regrets, things he couldn't bear to leave behind in his backpack. Kai carries a small wooden toy, a carved horse that his little brother had given him before he left. His brother had cried when Kai hugged him goodbye, and Kai had promised to come back soon. But as the months passed, he'd started to worry. Would his brother remember him? Had he broken his promise by staying away so long? The toy horse now felt like a weight, a reminder of the promise he feared he was breaking. He carries a letter, folded neatly and placed in a small leather pouch. It's from his first love, a girl named Lena, who had given it to him the night before he left. In the letter, she'd written about how she hoped he'd find adventure, but how she'd be waiting for him when he came home. But Kai had met other people on his travels, had seen new places, and he'd started to wonder, did Lena still think of him? Would she even recognize him now? The letter felt like a chain, tying him to a past he wasn't sure he could return to. He carries a small stone, smooth and white, picked up from the bank of a river he'd crossed early in his journey. He'd been in a hurry that day, rushing to reach the next village before dark, and he'd accidentally knocked over an old woman's basket of apples. The apples had rolled into the river, and the old woman had cried, saying they were the only food she had for the week. Kai had apologized, but he'd been too embarrassed to stay and help. He'd run away, leaving her standing by the river. Now, every time he touches the stone, he remembers her face, the way her eyes had filled with tears, the way her hands had trembled, and he feels a sharp pang of guilt. The stone felt like a burden, a reminder of the mistake he couldn't fix. And he carries other things too. A broken comb from an innkeeper who'd been kind to him, a piece of cloth from a market he'd visited, a dried flower from a field he'd passed through. Each item is tied to a memory, a moment of joy, a moment of sadness, a moment of regret, and Kai can't bear to leave any of them behind. He thinks that if he holds on to these things, he'll hold on to the moments themselves. That if he doesn't let go, he won't forget. But the more he carries, the heavier the backpack becomes. The more he holds on, the more tired he feels. One afternoon, Kai reaches a small clearing in the woods. There, beside a stream, is a wooden bench. He stumbles over to it, dropping onto the bench with a sigh of relief. He sets his backpack on the ground beside him, and even that small act makes his shoulders ache. He rubs them, trying to work out the knots, and looks out at the stream. It flows quickly, clear and cold, over smooth stones. He watches as a leaf falls from a tree and floats on the surface of the water, carried away by the current. It doesn't fight, it doesn't hold on. It just lets the stream take it wherever it wants to go. He wishes he could be like that leaf, light, free, unburdened, but his backpack is still there, heavy and full, reminding him of all the things he's holding on to. Just then, an old man walks into the clearing. He's wearing a simple robe, and he carries a small bag slung over his shoulder. So small that it looks like it could hold no more than a few pieces of fruit and a water skin. He walks with a light step, his back straight, his face calm. When he sees Kai, he smiles and nods. "May I sit?" he asks, gesturing to the other end of the bench. Kai nods, moving over to make space. "Of course," he says. His voice is hoarse. He hasn't spoken to anyone in days. The old man sits down, placing his small bag on the ground. He looks at Kai's backpack, then at Kai's tired face. "That bag looks heavy," he says. Kai laughs, a quiet, tired sound. "It is. It's been getting heavier every day." The old man nods. "What do you carry in it?" Kai hesitates. He's never told anyone about the things in his backpack, the memories, the regrets. But there's something about the old man's calm eyes that makes him want to talk. "Supplies," he says, then pauses. "And other things, memories, regrets, things I can't let go of." The old man looks at him, his eyes soft. "Why can't you let them go?" Kai thinks for a minute. "Because I'm afraid I'll forget. The good memories, the way my brother smiled when he gave me the toy horse, the way Lena's handwriting looks in her letter. I don't want to lose those. And the bad ones, the old woman by the river, the mistakes I've made. I don't want to forget those either. I think if I remember them, I'll be a better person. I'll never make the same mistakes again." The old man picks up a small stone from the ground and holds it in his hand. He tosses it into the stream, and they watch as it sinks to the bottom, disappearing from sight. "Did you see that stone?" he says. Kai nods. "Yes." "The stone is gone now," the old man says. "But you saw it. You remember it. You don't need to carry it in your pocket to remember it. The same is true of your memories. You don't need to carry physical things to hold on to them. They're already in you, in your heart, in your mind. They'll stay with you even if you let go of the things that remind you of them." He pauses, then continues. "And the regrets. Holding on to them is like carrying a rock in your shoe. It hurts. It slows you down. It doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you tired. You can learn from your mistakes without carrying the weight of them around. You can apologize, even if it's just to yourself, and then let go." The old woman by the river. Do you think she wants you to carry that guilt forever? Or do you think she'd want you to learn to be more careful, more kind, and then keep going? Kai sits there, staring at the stream. The old man's words are simple, but they hit him like a wave. He'd never thought about it that way. He'd thought that holding on to the things in his backpack was a way to honor the past, to remember the people he loved, to learn from his mistakes. But really, he was just weighing himself down. He was letting the past keep him from moving forward. He looks down at his backpack. He reaches for the leather pouch that holds Lena's letter. He pulls it out, unfolding it carefully. He reads the words again. "I'll be waiting for you when you come home," and feels a pang of sadness. But then he remembers the old man's words. He doesn't need to carry the letter to remember Lena's love. He doesn't need to worry about whether she's still waiting. He just needs to keep traveling, keep living, and when the time is right, he'll go home. He folds the letter back up and places it on the bench beside him. He reaches into his backpack and pulls out the wooden toy horse. He runs his finger over its carved mane, remembering his brother's smile. He sets it down next to the letter. Then he pulls out the smooth white stone, the one from the river, and places it beside the toy horse. One by one, he takes out the other things: the broken comb, the piece of cloth, the dried flower. He sets them all on the bench until his backpack is empty. When he's done, he closes the backpack and sets it on the ground. He feels lighter, not just in his shoulders, but in his whole body. It's like a weight he'd been carrying for months has been lifted. He takes a deep breath, and for the first time in a long time, it feels easy. It feels free. The old man smiles. "How do you feel?" he asks. "Light," Kai says. "Free, like I could walk forever." The old man nods. That's the way traveling should be. Not carrying the past, but moving toward the future. Not letting regrets weigh you down, but letting them teach you. You don't need to hold on to things to keep them alive. You just need to carry them in your heart. They sit in silence for a while, watching the stream flow. The sun starts to set, painting the sky pink and orange. Kai looks at the things on the bench, the letter, the toy horse, the stone, and feels no sadness, no fear, just a sense of peace. He knows he'll remember those moments, those people, even if he leaves the things behind. He knows he'll learn from his mistakes, even if he doesn't carry the stone to remind him. When the old man stands up to leave, he nods at Kai. "Safe travels," he says. Kai stands up too, his back straight, his steps light. "Thank you," he says, "for helping me let go." The old man smiles. "I just helped you see what you already knew. now go. The mountain is waiting. Kai watches the old man walk away, his small bag slung over his shoulder, his step light and free. Then he turns back to the bench. He looks at the things one last time, then turns and walks up the path. He doesn't look back. He doesn't need to. The memories are in him. The lessons are in him. And the future is ahead. Over the next few days, Kai walks with a new lightness. He climbs the mountain path easily, his shoulders no longer hunched, his breath no longer labored. He talks to villagers he meets along the way, sharing stories of his travels. He helps a farmer fix a broken fence, and he shares his dried fruit with a child who's hungry. He doesn't carry the weight of his past anymore. He carries the joy of the present. One evening, he reaches the top of the mountain. There, he looks out at the world below, at the villages, the rivers, the forests stretching as far as the eye can see. The sun is setting, painting the sky in brilliant colors, and the wind blows softly, carrying the smell of pine. Kai takes a deep breath, feeling the freedom in his bones. He thinks about the old man, about the things he'd left behind, about the lessons he'd learned. He realizes that letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering without weighing yourself down. It's about honoring the past without letting it control the future. It's about carrying the love, the joy, the lessons in your heart, not in a heavy backpack. Think about that as you lie there. What's in your backpack? What memories, what regrets, what things are you holding on to that are weighing you down? Maybe it's a mistake you made years ago, something you still beat yourself up over. Maybe it's a relationship that ended, something you can't stop thinking about. Maybe it's a dream you had to give up, something that still makes you sad when you think about it. You don't need to carry those things around. You don't need to let them weigh you down. The memories will stay with you, the good ones, the hard ones, but you don't need to hold on to the pain, the guilt, the sadness. You can let go of the weight. You can let go of the past and still carry the love. Tonight, as you lie in bed, imagine opening your backpack. Take out the things that are weighing you down, the regrets, the guilt, the sadness. Set them down beside you. Let them go. Feel the lightness in your shoulders, in your chest, in your heart. Know that you don't need to carry them anymore. Know that you're free to move forward, free to live in the present, free to embrace the future. Kai stands on the mountaintop for a while longer, watching the stars come out. He feels light, he feels free, he feels alive. He knows that his journey isn't over. There are still cities to visit, oceans to see, people to meet. But now he'll travel with an empty backpack, with a heart full of memories, but no weight to hold him back. And that's the greatest gift of all, to travel through life light, free, and unburdened. You can have that gift too. As you close your eyes, as your breath slows, let go of your backpack. Let go of the weight. Let go of the past, and feel the freedom of being light. The night is quiet. The world is still. And you are free. Sweet, light, peaceful sleep. Let the lightness of Kai's unburdened steps stay with you. That freedom of carrying only what your heart needs, not what your hands cling to. As we drift from the mountain path to a quiet courtyard in a small temple. The courtyard is paved with smooth stone, and in its center there's a small pond where a few lotus flowers float, their petals soft and pale pink. Along the edges of the courtyard, bamboo plants grow tall, their leaves rustling gently in the breeze. Near the pond, An old man sits on a stone bench, holding a book in his hands. His name is Master Han. Master Han is a teacher, not the kind who stands in front of a classroom and lectures, but the kind who sits and listens. Villagers and travelers alike come to him with their questions. Questions about love, about loss, about purpose, about the meaning of life. He never raises his voice, never hurries, never acts like he has all the answers. But people leave his side feeling calmer, more at peace, like they've found something they didn't know they were looking for, even if their questions weren't answered. One morning, a young man named Tao comes to the temple. Tao is a student from a nearby city where he studies philosophy and literature. He's spent years reading books, attending lectures, and debating with his classmates about the big questions in life. But the more he learns, the more confused he becomes. The more he searches for answers, the more he feels like he's missing something. He's heard stories about Master Han, stories of how the old teacher can make even the most tangled thoughts feel clear. And he's come to ask a question that's been weighing on his mind for months. What is the meaning of life? Tao finds Master Han in the courtyard, sitting by the pond, watching a dragonfly dance above the lotus flowers. He hesitates for a moment. The old man looks so peaceful, so lost in the moment, that Tao doesn't want to disturb him. But his need for an answer is too strong. He takes a deep breath and walks over. Master Han, he says, his voice quiet but firm. Master Han looks up, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Welcome, young one. Sit. Would you like a cup of tea? Tao sits down on the bench beside him, but he shakes his head. Thank you, Master, but I don't have time for tea. I've come to ask you a question that no one else has been able to answer. Master Han closes his book and sets it aside. He turns to Tao, his gaze soft but attentive. Ask, he says. Tao leans forward, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. What is the meaning of life? He says. I've read hundreds of books about it. I've talked to scholars and philosophers. Some say it's to seek happiness. Some say it's to serve others. Some say it's to find God. But none of these answers feel right. None of them feel certain. I need to know for sure what the meaning of life is. Otherwise, how can I live it well? How can I know if I'm on the right path? Master Han says nothing. He just turns back to the pond, watching the dragonfly as it flits from one lotus flower to the next. The breeze blows and the bamboo leaves rustle. Tao waits, his heart pounding. He expects the old man to give him a wise answer, something profound, something that will make everything click into place. But Master Han doesn't speak. After a few minutes, Tao grows restless. Master, he says, did you hear my question? What is the meaning of life? Again, Master Han says nothing. He reaches down and dips his hand into the pond, letting the cool water run through his fingers. He watches as ripples spread across the surface, distorting the reflection of the lotus flowers. Then, slowly, the ripples fade, and the reflection becomes clear again. Tao's patience starts to wear thin. He's traveled a long way to ask this question. He's spent weeks thinking about it, worrying about it. And Master Han is just sitting there, looking at the pond, saying nothing. Master Han, he says, his voice a little louder, a little sharper. I need an answer. I can't go on not knowing. I need to be certain. What is the meaning of life? Master Han turns to him then. His eyes are calm, his face soft. "Do you think the lotus flower knows the meaning of life?" he asks. Tao blinks, confused. "What, the lotus flower?" "No, of course not. It's a plant. It doesn't think. It doesn't know anything." Master Han nods. "And yet it grows. It pushes through the mud at the bottom of the pond, up into the sunlight. It blooms, soft and beautiful, even though it grew from dirt. It doesn't ask why. It doesn't need to know the meaning of life. It just is. It just lives." Tao frowns. "But I'm not a lotus flower. I'm a person. I have a mind. I need to know. I need to be certain. Otherwise, life feels empty. Like I'm just wandering with no direction." Master Han stands up and gestures for Tao to follow him. He walks over to the bamboo plants, running his hand along one of their smooth stems. "Look at the bamboo," he says. "When it's young, it grows slowly, so slowly that you can't even see it change from day to day. Then, one day, it shoots up, growing taller and taller until it towers above the courtyard. But it doesn't rush. It doesn't worry about when it will grow or how tall it will get. It just grows in its own time, in its own way." He turns back to Tao. "You want to know the meaning of life, a single, certain answer that will make everything clear. But life isn't a book with a single ending. It isn't a question with a single answer. It's like the bamboo. It's like the lotus. It just is. And the more you try to pin it down, to make it fit into a box labeled meaning, the more you'll miss it." Tao's jaw tightens. He doesn't understand. He's spent so long searching for certainty, for an answer that will make his doubts go away, that the idea of letting go of that need feels impossible. "But if I don't know the meaning of life," he says, his voice trembling a little, "what do I do? How do I decide what to do with my days? How do I know if I'm making the right choices?" Master Han leads Tao back to the stone bench and sits down. He picks up a small stone from the ground and holds it out to Tao. "What is this?" he asks. Tao looks at the stone. It's small, gray, and smooth, just an ordinary stone. "It's a stone," he says. "Is that all?" Master Han says. "Is it not also a thing that can skip across the pond? A thing that can hold down a piece of paper? A thing that can be polished until it shines? A thing that was formed deep in the earth millions of years ago?" Tao nods. "Yes, but it's still a stone. Those are just things you can do with it. They're not what it is." Master Han smiles. "And life is like that stone. It's not one thing. It's not a single meaning. It's the moments you spend with friends, laughing until your sides hurt. It's the quiet mornings when you wake up and listen to the birds sing. It's the hard days when you help someone who's struggling, even when you're tired. It's the joy of planting a seed and watching it grow. It's the sadness of saying goodbye to someone you love. All of these things, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, they are life. And you don't need a single certain answer to live them. You just need to be present for them." Tao sits there, staring at the stone in Master Han's hand. He thinks about all the time he's spent reading books, asking questions, searching for answers. He thinks about the nights he's stayed up late, worrying that he'd never find the meaning of life and would therefore waste his days. He thinks about the moments he's missed, moments with his family, moments with his friends, because he was too busy thinking about the future, too busy searching for something that wasn't there. But what about certainty? Tao says, his voice quieter now. I don't like not knowing. It scares me. What if I make a mistake? What if I choose the wrong path? Master Han sets the stone down on the bench. He looks up at the sky, where a few clouds drift by, slow and soft. Do you think the clouds know where they're going? He says. Do you think they worry about choosing the right path? They just drift. They change shape. They bring rain when it's needed, and sun when it's not. They don't need certainty. They just need to be clouds. He turns back to Tao. Certainty is a cage. It traps you in what you think you know, so you can't see what's right in front of you. It makes you afraid to make mistakes, because mistakes mean your certain answer was wrong. But mistakes are part of life. They're how we learn. They're how we grow. The need for certainty is like holding your breath underwater. The longer you hold it, the more you panic. The more you panic, the more you miss the beauty of the world around you. Tao takes a deep breath. He feels a tightness in his chest that he'd had for years, a tightness from holding on to the need for answers, for certainty start to loosen. He thinks about the lotus flower, pushing through the mud without asking why. He thinks about the bamboo, growing in its own time without rushing. He thinks about the clouds, drifting without worrying about where they're going. And for the first time in a long time, he feels a flicker of peace. What should I do then? Tao asks, his voice soft. If I don't search for the meaning of life, if I don't need certainty, what do I do? Master Han stands up and walks over to the pond. He bends down and picks a single lotus flower, its petals soft and delicate. He hands it to Tao. Smell it, he says. Tao takes the flower. He brings it to his nose and inhales. It smells sweet, like honey and sunshine. For a moment, he forgets about his questions, his doubts, his need for certainty. He just feels the softness of the petals, the sweetness of the scent, the warmth of the sun on his face. He just is. Live this moment, Master Han says, his voice quiet but clear. That's all you need to do, not tomorrow, not yesterday, just now. The meaning of life isn't a question to be answered. It's a moment to be lived. And you can't live it if you're too busy searching for answers. Tao holds the lotus flower in his hand. He looks at it, at its soft petals, at its gentle scent. He thinks about the moments he's missed and the moments he still has. He thinks about the books he's read, the lectures he's attended, the debates he's had, and how none of them have given him the peace he feels right now. Holding a simple flower, breathing in its scent, he stands up. He bows to Master Han, his gratitude deep. Thank you, he says. I think I understand now. I don't need the answer. I just need to live. Master Han smiles. That's the only answer you'll ever need. Now go, live your moments. Smell the flowers. Listen to the birds. Be present. That's how you live a good life. Tao leaves the temple a little while later. He carries the lotus flower with him, its scent still lingering on his fingers. As he walks back to the city, he notices things he'd never noticed before. The way the sunlight filters through the trees, dappling the ground with light and shadow. The way the birds sing, their voices clear and happy. The way the wind blows, carrying the scent of jasmine from a nearby garden. He doesn't think about the meaning of life. He doesn't worry about certainty. He just walks. He just breathes. He just lives. Over the weeks that follow, Tao changes. He spends less time reading books and more time with his family and friends. He helps his mother tend to her garden, and he listens to his father tell stories about his childhood. He walks in the park in the evenings, watching the sunset, instead of staying inside worrying about the future. He still asks questions, but he doesn't demand answers. He's okay with not knowing. He's okay with the uncertainty. One day, Tao returns to the temple. He finds Master Han sitting by the pond, just like before. He sits down beside him, and for a while, they say nothing. They just watch the lotus flowers. Listen to the bamboo leaves rustle. Feel the breeze on their faces. Master Tao says finally, "I don't have a question today. I just wanted to say thank you for not answering my question, for helping me see that I didn't need an answer." Master Han looks at him, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Sometimes, the most important thing a teacher can do is not answer a question. Sometimes, the most important lesson is learning to let go of the need for answers. They sit in silence for a little longer. The sun starts to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Tao looks at the lotus flowers, their petals glowing in the sunset. He feels a sense of peace he'd never felt before, a peace that comes from letting go of certainty, from embracing the moment, from just being. Think about that as you lie there. When was the last time you clung to the need for certainty? Maybe you worried about what job you should take, what relationship you should pursue, what future you should plan for, and you felt stuck because you didn't have a certain answer. Maybe you stayed up late, overthinking every choice, every possibility, because you were afraid of making a mistake. Maybe you felt like you couldn't move forward until you had all the answers. But what if you let go of that need? What if you stopped demanding certainty and started embracing the moment? What if you stopped worrying about the future and started living right now? Master Han's lesson is simple. Certainty is a cage. It traps you in fear, in doubt, in overthinking. But life isn't meant to be lived in a cage. It's meant to be lived freely, in the moment, with an open heart, with a willingness to embrace the unknown. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be here, now. You just need to breathe. You just need to live. Tao sits with Master Han until the sun sets completely. He stands up, bows, and walks away. He doesn't look back. He doesn't need to. He knows the temple will be there, and Master Han will be there, and the lotus flowers will be there. But right now, he has moments to live, moments with his family, moments with his friends, moments of quiet joy. And that's enough. You can have that too. As you lie there, your eyes heavy, your breath slow, let go of the need for certainty. Let go of the need for answers. Let go of the fear of the unknown. Just be here. Just breathe. Just live this moment. The night is quiet. The world is still. And you are here, now. That's all you need to be, sweet, uncertain, peaceful sleep. Let the quiet peace of Tao's lotus-scented moments stay with you, that soft acceptance of uncertainty, that freedom in living the present as we drift from Master Han's temple courtyard to a quiet lake at the edge of a small fishing village. The lake is wide, its surface smooth as glass at dawn, reflecting the pale pink and purple of the rising sun. Reeds grow along the shore, their tops swaying gently in the breeze, and if you listen, You can hear the soft call of herons as they glide across the water in search of food. On the shore of this lake, a fisherman named Quan prepares his boat. Quan is an old man with a face weathered by years of sun and wind and hands rough from handling nets and ropes. He's been fishing on this lake since he was a boy, learning the trade from his father, who learned it from his grandfather before him. Every morning he wakes before the sun, loads his small wooden boat with his net, his bait, and a small basket for his catch, and pushes off from the shore. He doesn't fish for fame or fortune. He fishes to feed his family, to sell a few extra fish at the village market, and because he loves the lake. He loves the quiet of the early morning, the feel of the cool water on his hands, the way the sun rises over the horizon and paints the lake gold. Quan is a patient fisherman. He doesn't rush. He knows the lake, knows where the fish swim in the spring, where they hide in the summer, where they gather in the fall. He casts his net slowly, carefully, and waits. Sometimes he waits for an hour, sometimes 2, before he pulls the net in. Sometimes he catches only a few small fish, enough for his family's dinner, but not much more. Sometimes he catches nothing at all. But he never gets angry. He never feels greedy. He knows that the lake gives what it can, and he's grateful for whatever he receives. But one morning, something different happens. The sun has just risen, painting the lake in shades of orange and pink. When Quan casts his net into a deep part of the lake, a spot where his father used to say, "The big ones hide," he sits on the edge of his boat, his hands resting on his knees, and waits. The lake is quiet, except for the sound of his own breathing and the distant call of a heron. He closes his eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun touch his face, and smiles. This is his favorite time of day, the world still, the lake calm, nothing but peace. Then he feels it. A tug on the net, strong, steady, not like the small tugs of the little fish he usually catches. His eyes open. He leans forward, gripping the rope of the net, and pulls. The tug is stronger now, as if whatever is in the net is fighting to get free. Quan's heart speeds up. He's never felt a tug like this before. He pulls the net in slowly, his muscles straining. The water bubbles as the net rises to the surface, and then Quan gasps. In the net, thrashing and twisting, is a fish unlike any he's ever seen. It's huge, almost as long as his boat, with scales that shine silver in the sunlight, and eyes that glint like black pearls. It's a carp, but not an ordinary carp. The villagers call fish like this lake treasures rare, beautiful, and worth more money than Quan makes in a month at the market. Quan's hands shake as he pulls the fish into the boat. The fish stops thrashing for a moment, lying on its side, its gills opening and closing as it gasps for air. Quan stares at it, his mouth open. He can't believe his luck. This fish would feed his family for weeks. He could sell parts of it at the market, the scales, the meat, the bones, and make enough money to fix the leak in his roof, to buy new clothes for his granddaughter, to do all the things he'd been putting off because he didn't have enough money. He reaches for his knife, which he keeps in a sheath on his belt. He usually uses it to clean small fish, but today he'll use it to kill this big one, to prepare it for the market. But as his hand touches the handle of the knife, he pauses. He looks down at the fish. Its eyes are still open, looking up at him. For a moment, Quan swears he sees something in those eyes. Not fear, exactly, but a kind of recognition. A knowing. Like the fish understands what's about to happen. Quan's hand drops from the knife. He sits back, staring at the fish. His mind races. This is his chance to have more than he's ever had, to give his family more than he's ever been able to give. But as he looks at the fish, he thinks about the lake. He thinks about all the years he's fished here. All the times the lake has given him small catches, quiet mornings, peace. He thinks about how this fish has lived in the lake for years, growing big and strong, swimming freely in the deep water. And now he's going to kill it. For money. 4 things. A wave of guilt washes over him. He's never been a greedy man. He's always been grateful for what he has. But now, faced with this big fish, this treasure, he feels the pull of greed, strong, sharp, hard to resist. He thinks about his granddaughter's smile when she gets new clothes. He thinks about his wife's relief when the roof is fixed. He reaches for the knife again, but again he pauses. He looks at the fish's gills, still opening and closing. He thinks about what it would feel like to be trapped, to be pulled out of the water you love, to know you're about to die. He thinks about the freedom the fish had, swimming wherever it wanted, exploring the lake, growing old. And he realizes that he can't take that away. Not for money. Not for things. Quan takes a deep breath. He stands up, carefully, so he doesn't tip the boat. He walks over to the fish, bends down, and starts to untangle the net from around its body. The fish doesn't thrash. It lies still, as if it knows Quan is helping it. Quan's fingers are stiff, his hands still shaking, but he works slowly, gently, making sure he doesn't hurt the fish. It takes a while. The net is tangled tightly around the fish's scales, but finally, the last strand is free. Quan lifts the fish carefully, his arms straining under its weight. He carries it to the edge of the boat, bends down, and lowers it into the lake. The fish slips into the water, and for a moment it stays still, just below the surface, looking up at Quan. Then it flicks its tail and swims away, slow at first, then faster, until it disappears into the deep water of the lake. Quan stands there, watching the spot where the fish vanished. His hands are empty. His basket is still empty. He has no big catch to sell, no money to fix the roof, no new clothes for his granddaughter. But he doesn't feel sad. He doesn't feel regret. He feels light. Lighter than he has in years. Like a weight he didn't know he was carrying has been lifted. He sits back down on the edge of the boat, picks up his net, and casts it again. This time, he doesn't think about the big fish. He doesn't think about money or roofs or clothes. He thinks about the lake, about the sun, about the quiet. He waits, patient as ever, and when he pulls the net in an hour later, he finds 3 small fish, enough for his family's dinner. He smiles. It's enough. When Quan returns to the village that afternoon, he ties his boat to the shore and walks home with his small basket of fish. The village market is busy, and a few of the other fishermen wave at him. Quan, one of them calls. Did you catch anything good today? I heard old Lee caught a big carp yesterday, sold it for a fortune. Quan smiles and shakes his head. Just a few small ones, he says. Enough for dinner. The fisherman laughs. You're too easy, Quan, always satisfied with so little. Think of what you could have if you tried harder, if you were a little greedier. Quan nods. I used to think that too, he says. But today I caught a big fish, a lake treasure, and I let it go. The fisherman's eyes widen. You let it go? Are you crazy? That fish would have made you rich. Quan shrugs. Maybe, but it belonged to the lake. I had no right to take it. And besides, he pauses, thinking about the lightness he felt when he let the fish swim away. I have enough. More than enough. He walks away, leaving the fisherman staring after him. When he gets home, his wife is in the kitchen, peeling vegetables. His granddaughter May runs to the door when she sees him, her arms outstretched. Grandpa, she says, hugging his legs. Did you catch any fish? Can we have fish soup for dinner? Quan picks her up, laughing. We can have fish soup, he says. And tomorrow we'll go for a walk by the lake. I'll show you the spot where I saw the biggest fish I've ever seen. May's eyes light up. Really? Was it as big as the boat? Quan nods. Bigger, he says. And it swam away, back to the lake where it belongs. That night, as they eat their fish soup, simple, warm, delicious, Quan tells his family about the big fish. He tells them about the tug on the net, about the way the fish's scales shone in the sun, about the moment he decided to let it go. His wife listens, nodding, and his granddaughter asks questions about the fish, where it went, if it will come back, if it has a family after dinner. Quan sits on the porch with his wife, watching the sun set over the lake. The sky is painted orange and pink, just like it was that morning, and the lake glows in the fading light. You could have sold that fish, his wife says, her voice soft. We could have fixed the roof, bought May new clothes. Quan takes her hand. I know, he says, but the roof can wait. May doesn't need new clothes. She's happy with what she has. And he pauses, looking out at the lake. I needed to let it go. I needed to remember that greed doesn't make you happy. Attachment to things, to outcomes, that's what makes you heavy. Letting go. That's what makes you free. His wife smiles. She knows her husband. She knows he's never been one to chase money or things. She squeezes his hand. You're right, she says. The lake will give us what we need. Always has. Quan nods. He thinks about all the fishermen who spend their days chasing big catches, who get angry when they catch nothing, who are never satisfied. He thinks about how tired they look, how heavy they seem. And he thinks about himself, about the lightness in his chest, the peace in his heart. He's not rich. He doesn't have a big house or fancy clothes. But he has his family. He has the lake. He has the quiet mornings and the warm evenings. He has enough in the weeks that follow. Quan continues to fish. He still catches small fish, enough for his family, enough to sell a few at the market. He still wakes before the sun, still loves the quiet of the morning. But something is different. He looks at the lake differently, not just as a place to catch fish, but as a living thing, something to be respected, something to be grateful for. He doesn't think about what he can take from the lake anymore. He thinks about what he can give: patience, respect, gratitude. One morning, as he's casting his net, he sees a flash of silver in the water, just for a moment, near the spot where he caught the big fish. He smiles. Maybe it's the same fish. Maybe it's not. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it's free. that the lake is still giving, that he's still here, still able to sit in his boat, still able to feel the quiet peace of the morning. Quan casts his net again, slowly, carefully. He waits, and when he pulls it in, he finds 2 small fish. He smiles. It's enough. Think about that as you lie there. When was the last time you held on to something out of greed? When was the last time you clung to an outcome, a job, a relationship, a possession, because you thought it would make you happy, even though it was weighing you down? Maybe you worked overtime to make more money, even though you were tired and missed your family. Maybe you held on to a relationship that wasn't working because you were afraid of being alone. Maybe you bought things you didn't need because you thought they would make you feel better. But did they? Did the money, the relationship, the things make you happy? Or did they make you heavier? Did they make you feel like you were carrying a weight you couldn't set down? Quan's lesson is simple. Greed is a cage. Attachment to outcomes is a chain. They trap you in a cycle of wanting more, of never being satisfied, of forgetting what's truly important. But letting go of greed, letting go of the need to control outcomes, letting go of the idea that more is better, that's freedom. That's peace. You don't need more to be happy. You don't need to control everything to feel safe. You just need to be grateful for what you have. To respect the things that don't belong to you, the fish in the lake, the moments in life, the people who come and go. To know that enough is enough tonight as you lie in bed. Think about one thing you're holding on to out of greed or attachment. Maybe it's a possession you don't use but can't bear to give away. Maybe it's a goal you're chasing that doesn't make you happy anymore. Maybe it's an outcome you're clinging to, even though it's out of your control. What would it feel like to let it go? To say, I have enough. This doesn't serve me. I choose freedom. To feel the weight lift, to feel the peace sink in. Quan sits in his boat every morning, casting his net, waiting, being grateful for whatever he catches. He doesn't chase big fish anymore. He doesn't chase money or things. He chases the quiet, the peace, the feeling of being free. And that's the greatest gift of all, the gift of letting go. The gift of knowing that enough is enough. The gift of living a life light, free, and full of gratitude. You can have that gift too. As you close your eyes, as your breath slows, let go of greed. Let go of attachment. Let go of the need for more. Feel the lightness. Feel the peace. Know that you have enough. More than enough. The night is quiet. The lake is still. The world is at peace. And you are free, sweet, free, grateful sleep. As we wrap up these 10 stories of empty boats, of painters who stopped forcing, and fishermen who let the big fish guy hope you can feel it, that small, light space in your chest where the tightness used to be. Letting go isn't something we do once. It's a breath, then another. A moment where we say, I don't need to hold this right now. You didn't have to get every lesson. You just had to be here with yourself, with the quiet. With these stories that have held people like you in their warmth for so long. Remember, the monk with the broken bowl didn't feel no sadness. He just didn't let that sadness stick. The gardener with the wild roses didn't fix them. She just let them be. That's the art of it. Not perfection, but softness. Now, let's take one more deep breath. In, filling your lungs with the cool night air. Out, letting go of anything that's still clinging any last thought, any tiny worry. Feel your body sink deeper into the bed, like the earth is holding you. You don't have to carry anything into sleep. Nothing is urgent. Nothing is missing. Tonight, you learned to let go, not because you have to, but because you deserve to rest. And tomorrow, if the tightness comes back, you'll remember these stories. You'll remember this breath. You'll remember that peace isn't something you find, it's something you let yourself feel. One soft moment at a time. Sleep now. Let the dark wrap around you like a gentle blanket. I'll be right here, in the quiet, with you. Peace be with you.